was working at Xbox, coding games all day, dreaming about Halo and that sweet, sweet pay. Microsoft was raking in billions, I swear, but June 25, they said, son, we don't care. They called it restructuring, some corporate plan, while Satch's counting cash in his big old van. Record profits, revenue climbing to the moon, but my job's gone faster than a honky-tonk tune. Oh, Xbox laid me off, but the money keeps flowing. Microsoft stock is up and their profits are growing. I'm sitting on my porch with a beer and a frown while they're dancing in Redmond to that corporate sound. Yeah, Xbox laid me off and it don't make sense. How's a cowboy to live when the jobs get fenced? I built Master Chief's armor, pixel by pixel. Now I'm pawning my Xbox for a jar of dill pickles. They said it's just business, don't take it to heart, but my rent's overdue and my truck won't start. They're buying up studios, spending like kings, while I'm strumming my guitar, selling old wedding rings. Game Pass is booming, they're living the dream, but I'm eating spam by the light of my screen. Oh, Xbox laid me off, but the money keeps flowing. Microsoft stock is up and their profits are growing. I'm fishing for change in my couch's old seams, while they're planning new consoles for their corporate schemes. Yeah, Xbox laid me off and it don't make sense. How's a cowboy to live when the jobs get fenced? I heard they're making AI to replace folks like me. Guess Cortana's taking my cubicle, yeehaw, whoopee. They're swimming in gold like a Scrooge McDuck vault, but they kicked me to the curb, said it's my own dang fault. Now I'm singing at the bar, trying to make a buck, hoping some drunk gamer tip me some luck. I wrote this here song about my layoff blues, maybe it'll go viral, get me out of these shoes. So here's to the coders, the artists, the crew who got canned by Xbox when the profits grew. We'll raise a cold one to the games that we made and pray Microsoft's next plan don't ruin our parade. Oh, Xbox laid me off, but the money keeps flowing. Microsoft stock is up and their profits are growing. I'm strumming my pain with a 3-chord twang, while they're popping champagne to their corporate bang. Yeah, Xbox laid me off and it don't make sense. How's a cowboy to live when the jobs get fenced? So crank up that banjo, let the steel guitar cry. I'll find a new gig for my dreams up and die. But Xbox, next time you're cutting folks loose, save a layoff for the suits, not the ones who produce.
Time to play the game.
Their hands, studios with talent, craft, and dreams, and making plans. But decisions came like twisters, scattered hopes across the floor. Now players shake their heads, wondering what they're gaming for. Oh, Warner Brothers, what you doing to your name? Patent nemesis, it's greed behind your fame. Canceled Wonder Woman, left us waiting in the dust. Suicide Squad sinking fast, lost the gaming world's trust. That nemesis system had folks cheering far and wide, but you locked it down and creativity just died. Instead of leading progress, you're blocking up the lane, holding back the industry, causing nothing but disdain. Oh, Warner Brothers, can't you see the gaming light? Misreading your audience, getting nothing right, letting great teams crumble, opportunities ignored, gamers asking why they're even bothered anymore. Wonder Woman could have soared, made history anew, but you tossed her out like yesterday's news. Suicide Squad came in hot, crashed and burned Misunderstood your market, now the joke's on you. Oh, Warner Brothers, lost in stubborn pride. Gaming world's changing, but you're stuck inside. Missed every chance you had, ignored the warning signs. Better wake up soon before you fall too far behind. Message, Warner, from gamers coast to coast. Respect your teams and visions, or you'll end up as a ghost. Stop wasting all potential, learn to play the game, or Warner Brothers games will just remain a crying shame.
That's right. That's right. Warner Brothers doesn't know what they're doing. To be fair, neither do we. But we're here, vibing. Whoop. There we go. There we go. How is everybody? How is everybody? Sorry, the chat is not working right on the first screen. It's weird. Anyway, how are you guys? Yeah, Paramount is considering, allegedly, a bid for Warner Brothers. So Paramount wants to buy them too. Which, I mean, it can't get worse, right? Like, they're already kind of at rock bottom. So I guess only up from here, I guess, is the point. So there you go. Paradox, Luke just downloaded Forgotten City. Can't wait to play it. Good. It is a good, fun, very unique game. And it is also a game that supports a small team. It's a group of like 3 people basically who made it, 3-4 people. Most of the work done apparently by one person. Really, really cool. I'm super excited to see whatever they're working on next. Yeah, it's gonna be good. We're gonna look at Ghost of Yotei's developer interview that you guys asked me about 2 days ago on stream. By the way, I've heard some of you guys request information as to what happened with the stream from whatever that was, Wednesday. Because we watched, I was a fool. I pulled up the video of Conan O'Brien playing Borderlands 4, and it was funny because when he played it in this like Clueless Gamer episode, it crashed, and they actually kept it in the video. Like in this sponsored big video with Conan O'Brien, the game crashes, and they kept it in the game or in the video. And so I was like, oh, let's watch. I pulled it up. I should have realized that was going to be copyright struck out the ass. And that's what happened. So that's why you can't find the stream, is because we dared to watch Conan. Should have known better, but what are you going to do? Yeah, it is what it is. All you can do is try and make yourself feel better by watching some very talented musicians perform a musical thing for you. And that's what I'm going to show you here. This is something I listen to whenever I need to pick me up. You know, you have a long day, a long week, whatever. Sometimes the power of music will carry you through. And this is just a little taste of something that can brighten your day. Okay, you ready? Feel better? I know I do. I'll tell you what. Also, friend of the channel, Caleb Hammer, I've talked to him like once or twice. He's a cool guy. He does those financial audits. You remember the financial audit channel? He breaks down people's finances when they're being ridiculous. Well, I saw a clip come across my feed, and like, you know, when we talk about Star Citizen and we're like, who on earth is spending $1,000 on a ship, $2,000 on a video game spaceship? He found out who. He found out who. Look at this. This is a real Star Citizen whale in the wild. Oh, I muted
Do
it.
better, ladies and gentlemen. No. Right now, he says he wants to do better, ladies and gentlemen. I have to say this because he's not telling me. Probably because he's embarrassed. Thank goodness Lindsay is just a master at squeezing individuals for information. But he's literally setting an alarm right now for 11:30 a.m. Central. We're in Central Time Zone right now. He's usually in West Coast. Because there's a new ship available in Star Citizen that is $1,600. What are we doing? I thought we wanted to pay off debt, you
I'm thinking about it. I haven't made up my mind.
You're setting an alarm for it. Your mind is pretty damn close.
Just to see when it comes out.
But if you're setting an alarm...
Yeah. Because there's so much nuance that I can't explain. See if I can get it with store credit.
Planning to interrupt our filming for this.
No, I'm not planning to.
This is in 15 minutes.
I'm not planning on it.
Well, let's see it in 15 minutes, shall we? Because I will be very curious. And if you buy it, I will harm you. This is what we're dealing with here. Wants the proper speak, this is what we're dealing with.
I was extremely broke at that time. Like, proper poor.
Let's see the ship.
Looks like this wave is already sold out. They're releasing them in small waves every 2 hours. So it'll be done by then. I'll check it again.
Wow.
First Citizen spaceship game?
That was an account you don't have.
Huh?
That was an account you don't have. That was PayPal credit, and that's now closed.
Credit.
And
for Star Citizen.
Yes. And that's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Well, how much were you spending on Star Citizen?
Total year, or not year to date, but all time, it's like $3,500 so far.
Year to date?
Year to date's $1,600 maybe.
What are you doing, buddy? You have debt. You're saying you're making progress. You're the good guy. You're the expert. What are you talking about? $1,300 this year so far on Star Citizen.
Guilty pleasure. You know, it's something I really enjoy doing, and it's hard to say no sometimes.
What did you even spending on? I don't even know the game. I'm being told it's controversial.
Yeah, it's a game that's been in development for a very long time. It's like 11 years now. Or
in
something
development still?
Oh yeah, it's been in alpha for
it's an
a decade,
alpha
for a decade, and
you're giving them
$1,200
a year.
1,600 for this year. He said total is at like 3,600. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I was always wondering, who are these people? A lot of them are like working professionals. I remember we did one, and I think one of the guys in chat was like, oh, I'm an electrician. This is what I play when I get home from work. Honestly, respect it. If you work your ass off, you want to spend money on your hobby, who am I to judge, right? Like, if you want to go buy really nice golf clubs and go play golf, that's cool. You want to go buy a golf cart? I don't know how much a golf cart is. Does anyone know? How much is a golf cart? Golf cart cost. Okay, like they range from like $1,500. That's probably not a very good one. Like $5,000 seems like the average, up to like 15 or 20. Dude, that thing's crazy. 8-seater golf cart. I've never seen something like that. That's crazy. But like, if you want to go buy a golf cart to go play golf with your buddies and stuff, who am I to judge? I could make the point that you're getting a physical object, whether you're buying golf clubs or golf carts, or maybe you're really into biking, cycling, and you want to buy a brand new bicycle or something. Okay, you're into hunting. You go get a new rifle. Okay, cool. So I have no problem inherently with people spending money on their hobbies. It's just that with Star Citizen, you end up with people spending money in some cases like this, and it's like an addiction thing. They can't control themselves. It's very, very interesting. It's very interesting. Ed Boys, thank you for the 10, but you go out of your way and spend a gazillion dollars on multiple luxury cars, and somehow that makes you the bad guy. Yeah, I think it's perhaps the stigma specifically related to video games, and spending in video games is like automatically stupider than buying something physical. Like, you buy a sports car, you can drive the sports car and it's a physical object in the real world. You're buying something tangible. Whereas if you're spending money in microtransactions, it just kind of goes off into the ether and you get zeros and ones in exchange for it, which I think is probably why people view it differently. Would be my guess. That's kind of what my impulse feeling is. I will say, we were looking at a house it backed up to a golf course. And this neighborhood, like the houses that backed up to the golf course, they had the big garage, like the 2-3 car garage for the house. And then there's a tiny little side garage for golf carts. And like one of the houses we toured had this kind of golf cart. It wasn't 4 or I guess 3 rows and then 2 on the back. It was like 2 rows and then 1 on the back. So it wasn't even this big, but it's because like there's a restaurant on the neighborhood property and there's like the golf course and it's a whole country club kind of thing. So people would just spend like a week without leaving the compound, basically, because you just hop on the golf cart, you drive over to the country club, get dinner there or whatever. It's like, turns it into a commune, you know, fancy commune. Pretty baller. Kappa, thank you for the 27 months. Ooh, baby. Yo, hope you're doing well. Trying out Silksong this weekend. I'm really wanting to get into Borderlands 4, but it seems very unoptimized on PC right now. Yeah, it's not very optimized, and it's also, like, if you're willing to go into it on low settings with DLSS and stuff turned on, it's perfectly playable. That does not mean it runs well, but it's perfectly playable. It is way better than the version we got when they first sent review codes out. You remember, we'll talk about it in a second in more detail, but you remember the initial wave of previews and people were like, it stutters like crazy. It's really, really rough. It was bad. Like, it was to the point where I was not even going to bother trying to play more than an hour of it. It was so stuttery. And then they put out a patch. It ran way better. It greatly improved. They issued the NVIDIA driver update like yesterday or 2 days ago. That really, really helped. So they made progress, but it still just doesn't run very well, which is unfortunate. Because I think the game is good. The game is just... It's what frustrates me so much about this stuff. It's like the game can be good, but if it's poorly optimized, that's all anybody wants to talk about. So, you know, it's like, yeah, the game is good, but it runs like crap. And that automatically like precludes people checking it out, which is fair. It's very fair, because if it doesn't run well, why would you buy it? You know? But, Corvinus Machine, thank you for the 5. Finally got an OLED TV, 65-inch LG C5, and oh my God, it's amazing. My gaming experience has never been better. Yeah, I do, but now you see what people mean when they're like, once you go OLED, you'll never go back. You'll never go back. It spoils the crap out of you. But, ooh, baby, OLEDs are great. OLEDs for gaming are phenomenal. The only potential downside is that in bright rooms, they struggle. So my usual rule of thumb when I was selling TVs was if you have a bright room with like windows and stuff, a lot of natural daylight, get yourself like an LED based panel, something like, you know, one of the big Samsungs. Those work great. Otherwise, go with an OLED. Can't go wrong. They have some hybrid stuff nowadays, like the QLEDs. But
$10 through Super Chat. Silk
Thank you.
And Hades 2 in 1 month. How would you rank this year in terms of years like 2023 and 2007? Feels like the double A in Renaissance.
Yeah, no, it's been really, really cool to see some of these smaller projects blow up as much as they have. And I think it's partially because like AAA blockbuster development is in a bit of a crisis right now. Because gamers are kind of fed up with what they've been offering and they don't really have anything else to offer right now. And so they're just kind of floundering and struggling to deliver on it. And then on the flip side, like AA stuff is doing way better critically than the big stuff. Used to be that like the games with the biggest budgets, largely except for like Call of Duty and FIFA and stuff, largely they would be the contenders for the best games of that year. And sometimes that'll still be true, like GTA 6 next year. I think everybody's expecting that to be phenomenal. But yeah, this year's been really, really good for smaller teams that are hungry and are trying to prove that they know what they're doing. Whether it's Sandfall with their first game, or Warhorse with KCD 2, or Silk Song, or like any of these other kind of smaller budget games that have just blown up like crazy. But it's really good. It's really good because, again, remember, the industry constantly changes. The teams right now that you consider to be top of the industry, in 5-10 years, they will probably have shifted and fallen, and somebody else that we don't even know about will have blown up into the top spot, because that's just what happens. Like 10 years ago, it was considered that BGS was like one of the leading RPG developers in the world. I guess we have to go like 11. We'll go 10 and a half to 11 years ago. CDPR was largely unknown. Like Witcher 2 was out, and like Witcher 3 was coming in a few months, but it wasn't as well known, anywhere near as well known as it was after The Witcher 3. And of course, even studios like From Software were on the up and up, but they hadn't released even like Bloodborne yet. And so the industry can change a lot fairly quickly. It's just a matter of new ideas coming in. And so that's why I get so excited when I see smaller AA size teams come out and find tremendous success, because it's like, okay, like in 5 years is when their magnum opus comes out. Like KCD 2 is basically their Witcher 2. So just imagine what the next game's going to be, you know? Warhorse is 250 devs. Yeah, so they have two different teams. But they're allegedly working on the same project, so it's not like they're doing two different games. But they have two separate teams, and they've hired a lot. My understanding is after KCD 2's success, they've just gone on like a hiring spree, and they're putting it all out there. They're really gonna go all out on this next one. I'm excited. Let's see. Oh, I read that one. Josh, thank you for the 500 bits. Thank you. My goodness. Did you see the list of top selling 20 PlayStation games ever? Crazy how it was just 15 COD games and Spider-Man and Rockstar. I know COD is huge, but I didn't realize it was like that. Yeah, it's why like the stock market reacted strongly when Microsoft chose to go after Activision Blizzard, because specifically they reacted negatively towards Sony, because the fear back when they first announced the acquisition was that they were going to lock Call of Duty and everything out of PlayStation completely, which of course they didn't end up doing. They realized they could still take PlayStation gamer money and be just fine. But initially when that was first announced, the concern was maybe they would go fully exclusive. And for all of those games that are on those top selling lists, PlayStation's getting a 30% cut of most of them, because most of them are digital. And that's a crap ton of revenue. You know, you'd still prefer to be the one selling Call of Duty, but if you can take 30% of every copy of Call of Duty, that's still a pretty good split. You know, you're still a happy camper. So, yeah, Call of Duty's massive. It's just freaking massive. Sometimes it can be depressingly massive, you know? Thank you for the 10.
Sohab Radwin donated $10 through Super Chat. Do you think Ghost of Yotei sales will be affected after senior dev comments about Kirk? Dev was apparently fired. No comment from Sucker Punch yet. Some PPL asking to boycott game.
I don't think in any tangible way. I saw that allegedly and reportedly the person who said it's been fired, as far as I'm aware, it's not been like confirmed that they've been fired, but I think that's what's basically been connected, because the person that said it was like, if I lose my dream job over this, it's been worth it, or something like that. Like they doubled down. Either way, like you say something disgusting like that, you know, you have freedom of speech, but not freedom from consequence. So, you know, the studio decided that wasn't something they wanted to reflect on their brand, and that it wasn't something they wanted associated with them, and so they fired the person apparently. And yeah, so I mean, I would guess the people that are wanting to boycott it are like, they're boycotting it over what that person said, and that person has suffered a pretty extreme punishment as a result of what they said. So I'm not sure why they'd be boycotting now. you know, like they did the thing. If they were trying to cover up for it or like pretend that it didn't happen, like, okay, I could at least see the argument for boycotting the game, but like they literally fired the person. Like, they literally fired the person. So allegedly, you know, it's not confirmed as far as I can tell, but based on what the person posted on social media, Blue Sky, it really sounded like they were fired. So yeah, couldn't have happened to a nicer person. The firing, I mean. Professor Sprinkles, thank you for the 5. Luke, RE9, 7, and 8 are all coming to native Switch 2. What a good time to be a Switch 2 owner. Well, they're going to slowly build up the library little by little. The big thing that helped the Switch back in the day was the third-party support. Like, I don't know if you guys remember just how big of a deal the third-party support was on Switch 2, or the original Switch. Witcher. Dude, is YouTube just freaking out? There we go. It's all been weird. Like, the pages randomly stop loading. It's really, really odd. But back in the day when they first dropped like The Witcher 3 on Switch, it was basically the only way that you could play The Witcher on the go in a practical way, besides like a gaming laptop. This is pre-Steam Deck, pre-ROG Ally. Like, you didn't really have a lot of options. And yeah, it looked rough, but it at least was like playable. You could play The Witcher on the go, and it had cloud save, so you could pick it up on the Switch where you left off on your desktop or whatever, and it worked pretty well. But nowadays you have a lot of competition in the third-party space. You've got, you know, Steam Deck, you've got ROG Ally, you'll have the ROG Ally Xbox X, whatever they call it. So I think the third-party stuff as a selling point for the Switch 2 isn't as compelling, but they also have the benefit of having a lot of money to push developers and a large install base, which can certainly help with getting more polish time, more effort put into the ports and stuff like that, which seems to be what's happening. Because like all of the reporting around Cyberpunk running on the Switch 2 seems like it was pretty impressive. I've not personally seen the port running in person, because I've not tried Cyberpunk on the Switch 2, but from people I've spoken to, like Jor, who has seen it running in person, it apparently is really, really impressive that it runs, period, but that it runs as well as it does on the Switch 2. So I think high effort ports will really make a difference for sure. Is there a good overall? Don't see it. No. We'll do it this way. So how many of you guys are actually playing Borderlands on Steam? Any of you guys playing it? You hopping on? Thank you for the 5. People say AAA is dying, but we got DS2 and Ghost this year. We can laugh at Sony for the live service stuff, but they still deliver on the blockbuster side. I think part of the reason why it feels like it's been so kind of lackluster so far this generation is, for one, recency bias. Like, we look back on the PS4 generation and we think of the entire package of the generation, and it's easy to forget that like a lot of what we saw and what we got back then was separated by like a year, 2 years at a time. So I think that's part of it. Without a doubt, like, they still have phenomenal teams working on stuff that's going to be received really well, and that's going to be really good. I think it's just in the modern day, there's so many games coming out so frequently at such a steady pace, that the difference in cadence between PlayStation's live service efforts and their single player efforts is really kind of jarring. And I think that's more of what it is that it feels like whenever you see an announcement for a live service game, that it's taking away from the single player stuff. And in some cases it has, like with having Blue Point working on a God of War live service game. What? The guys that did the Demon Souls remake, you're having them go and do a God of War live service game? Are you kidding me? Or other projects like the Days Gone team working on it, The Last of Us Online, for years and years and years they were working on that and then they abandoned it. There's plenty of examples of them doing live service stuff that took away from their single player efforts. But when they use those world-class teams to make single player stuff, it goes well. It does. So people have been saying the industry is dying for 5 years. Well, they've been saying it for decades. I mean, you can go back, find videos back in like 2012 where people were saying that this was going to be the last generation of consoles because everything was going to be mobile devices. They're like, all games are going to be on phones from now on. You all have phones, don't you? And we know how that ended. Like the companies that doubled down on that kind of ended up blowing a lot of the money. So it didn't work out. Yeah. Let's see. Have you seen the Neil Druckmann interview? Yes, I do have it pulled up. We're going to look at it. Don't you worry. Yes, we will. I want to talk real quick about this though. News segment. Also, wrong button. Oh God. Bayfix, thank you for the resub over on Twitch. I've been following you for 4 years now, and you are my go-to for both in-depth and quick game reviews. Thanks for the good content. Thank you, Bayfix. Appreciate you. That's very kind of you to say. Much love. Thank you, my friend. 4 years. Wowza canowza. Ooh, that's like a long time. Wow. Well, props. Thank you for putting up with me that long. Wow. Okay, let's talk about this. News segment. So Borderlands 4 is officially out now. I have played a good chunk of it. Some of you guys in chat have also played a good chunk of it. And as you can see on Steam right now, we are sitting at mixed reviews. Now, as I'm sure we all can like suspect and could have predicted, it's mostly performance issues is the primary concern. This one, none of my friends can get the game to start past the main menu. When you quit and restart, it doesn't close the original instance and still uses full memory. This one, refunded after freeze, Steam couldn't even close it. Hot garbage on the best available hardware, 9950X 3D and 70 or 5090. It runs both lowest settings and highest settings, stuck at 55 to 61 FPS. Even toggling 4X frame gen on or off doesn't budge the frame rate, so that's totally broken. This one, Stutterlands 4 review, an unholy trio of pricing, UE5 and Denuvo. Terrible optimization, another Unreal Engine 5 casualty, not worth buying in its current state unless you have a NASA PC. So on and so forth. Now, I've tested it. I've played it. And I need to paint you a little picture of what happened here, okay? Just so you have a clear understanding. You remember 3-4 days ago, there were previews. Actually, I think it was longer. It was like a week ago. It was like the 4th or 5th of September is when they put that out. What happened is they sent us review codes like maybe the 4th, the 3rd. I got mine like the day before the preview embargo went up, but let's just say they sent out the codes on like the 3rd. Okay, so the 3rd. On the 3rd, this version of the game right here ran like hot donkey ass, like bad. Okay, stuttering to the point where like you'd go into a zone, it would stall for a solid quarter second and then move forward. Like it was basically unplayable. And I was like, this is not great. And there were articles posted when that review preview embargo went up where we were only allowed to talk about the first like couple hours of the game. And those previews largely mentioned the bad performance if they were playing on PC. People playing on console, you know, apparently have had very little issue, but on console or on PC, it's been an issue. Roughly like half a week later, I believe it was around the 8th, I want to say, I think, don't quote me on these exact dates, but it was around there. They issued a patch on the back end for reviewers. That significantly improved things, like to a large degree. So it went from unplayable to not great, but at least playable. It still stutters when you enter areas, but it's better. Back on the, I think it was the 10th, maybe 9th or 10th, they issued the NVIDIA drivers. So like that's often a big cause of concern with reviews is if you're experiencing a lot of performance issues. Sometimes it can just be because the new drivers aren't out. And once you get the new drivers, it greatly improves performance. So they issued those. And after those drivers went out on the 9th or 10th, whatever it was, I made my video that went up on the main channel this morning. And so all that footage you're seeing in that video is with it running the best possible situation I could have had it. And even then, it's not great. So it was really, really not great a week ago. Now it's better, but it's still not great. And here's the thing. The game basically requires a supercomputer to run, unfortunately. If you're playing on PC, it is extremely heavy, like extremely heavy. And I could try to come up with a reason as to why that is. I think there's a couple different possible explanations for it. Here's some gameplay footage of the game from Jack Frags. I could try to come up with a reason for why it's so heavy. I think a lot of it is that it's just one of these games that's running in Unreal Engine 5 and it requires and is built around using upscalers. So what I've seen is that people who are complaining about really bad performance, who are saying they're getting in like the 20s with 5090s and stuff, they're trying to brute force it at native resolution, which unfortunately for old school gamers like us, it's just not. We're kind of past the age of developers building games to run natively. I know I'm a boomer too. I feel it. I would rather games run natively. I think it looks better. I think it's just a better option, but that's just not how devs are working nowadays. Nowadays, they are building games with the assumption you're going to run it at like 1080p and upscale to 1440, or render it at 1440 and upscale it to 4K. Or let's be real, more realistically, render it at 530p and upscale to 4K. Let's just be real with what's happening. So I think that that's part of the reason some people are seeing excessively rough performance, is because they're trying to get it to run like KCD2 when it's just not. KCD2, you remember when they posted that performance spec sheet where they say like, hey, minimum requirements, recommended specs, ideal, whatever. When they posted that, I remember replying to that tweet and asking, is this running, or are these recommendations based on using upscalers, or is this based on running native? And they replied almost instantly. Satobi replied and was like, nope, all of our optimization is done assuming no upscalers, and then upscalers are used to give you further improved performance. But we are not building this in a way where we are assuming you're going to use upscalers. We don't want you to have to do it unless you want to. And again, yet another reason why KCD2 is goated and why Warhorse are absolute chads. And it's because they kind of get this. Whereas a lot of other games, especially Unreal Engine games, are being built with the presumption that you're going to use temporal upscalers and tools like FSR, DLSS to get it running decently. In addition to all of this other stuff, because there are certainly performance issues, there is a shader compilation issue within Unreal Engine with open world games just in general that has been pervasive for years at this point, that they did significantly improve again with that patch on the 8th. They did fix that and apparently rebuild a lot of how the shader compilation works for the open world stuff. So it's way better. Here it was basically running straight out of the box with that version, and it was, like I said, unplayable. But the version that they posted on the 8th, way better, but still it stutters and it's still really heavy to run. Paired with all of this is the additional problem, which is Denuvo. If you don't know Denuvo is the anti-piracy software layer that basically goes into a lot of PC games, especially on the AAA side of the industry. And they basically what they do is they try to prevent you from being able to crack the game and pirate it. It's the idea, at least. And it does this by constantly checking with like an external server. It's why a lot of these games will require always online connections, even when they're offline single player games, because if they have Denuvo, they have to make sure that the copy of the game you're running is legitimate, and they do that with that Denuvo software. There's other things that I do not understand because I'm not smart enough to understand it, but Denuvo does other things to try and prevent piracy that also gobbles up resources and can make games run poorly. Denuvo insists that their software does not affect performance negatively, but anybody who's ever played a game with Denuvo and then a version of it without Denuvo has noticed that it runs better without Denuvo. So, put 2 and 2 together. Like, it's always an exciting day when a game is patched to remove Denuvo. Because usually, once the game is cracked, because people will still be able to crack it even with the Denuvo software installed into the core package of the game. And so once they eventually crack it, there's no reason to have Denuvo anymore. So then the studios will update their game, removing Denuvo, and all of a sudden the game runs better. So it's like, okay, that seems to suggest that it runs better without it, but okay. Sure, it doesn't affect performance at all. Yeah, totally. But anyway, this all just kind of compounds onto a narrative that has been getting built up and up and up. And this is just one more piece of it, which is that Unreal Engine games run like crap and are poorly optimized, and it's just another Unreal Engine game. And what did the Steam review say? The Steam review mentioned like another victim of Unreal Engine. Another Unreal Engine 5 casualty. And unfortunately that's the perception a lot of people have, is that when they see Unreal Engine 5, they sigh thinking this is about to be crappy. They responded. Hold on, the devs responded to this one. Randy Pitchford told us to have realistic expectations. Fine, here's mine. I expect a $70 game to not run like a beta test. I expect a studio with Gearbox's legacy to not let DRM strangle its own players. I expect respect. Instead, we got excuses. Unless Gearbox pulls its head out of its own hype machine, Borderlands 4 could kill the franchise. First, the garbage and total joke of a movie. Now this broken mess. They're turning the legacy into a joke. I will say the movie is on another level. I watched all of like 25 minutes of it, and I was really struggling. Maybe I'll go back and try to actually finish it, but like, wow. Let's see. 2K Link said, we're sorry you're experiencing issues playing Borderlands 4. If you have an NVIDIA card, we have an article on how to optimize it. If you're operating on a different graphics card, check out our PC troubleshooting guide. And if your issues persist, submit a support request. We appreciate your help and patience as we work to resolve this issue. It's better than BGS's customer support response. At least they're not like, frame drops are actually part of the fun. that would be the BGS approach. But all of this to say, it's really frustrating, again, to have a game that otherwise is pretty good. Like, from what I've played, I actually have had a lot of fun with Borderlands 4. I understand some people wish, I actually saw it for the first time, somebody saying they wish it was more like comedic and campy and silly like Borderlands 3. And I was like, that's the first time I've seen somebody say they wish it was more like Borderlands 3. But some people are wishing that. Some people are saying that they wish it wasn't like as open-ended open world as it is. But whatever. Overall, the reviews are pretty much in line with what I think most people were expecting. It's sitting at an 84 on Metacritic right now. Borderlands 3 was at like a 77. 81 on its original version. Ultimate Edition is at 77, but I guess Switch 2, that explains it. But Borderlands 3 was at 81. Borderlands 2 was at 89. So like, it's in the 80s. It's in the ballpark of where they wanted to be or kind of expected to be. But it's why it's so frustrating when games like this launch with technical issues, is that then all of that gets thrown out the wayside, and this is all we're talking about, is that it runs badly. And it's just frustrating, because if it ran well, we'd get to talk about the game itself. We would get to talk about some of the build crafting. We get to talk about some of the boss encounters, which are pretty cool, honestly. We get to talk about the co-op and all that. But instead, now we're just focused on how it is another example of it running stupid and bad, and it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. So I don't know. The thing is, I think eventually Unreal and Epic, they will have to respond to all these problems, because it is now a stereotype that Unreal Engine games run poorly. That is the stereotype. And as I've said before, perception is the reality you have to deal with. So if everybody kind of perceives it that Unreal Engine runs games poorly, and if a game is made in Unreal Engine, it's going to be rough and stuttery and a mess, and you're probably going to wait for a sale, That affects Epic's bottom line because that means that players are automatically discounting games if they see it running in their tool set. And that means devs will also consider that when they're selecting what engine they want to use. You know, IOI, they've been talking a lot about their engine, the Glacier engine. And I didn't realize this, but apparently the Glacier engine is also the core of the engine used in Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't realize that, but apparently like it was a major component of their tool set as well. So I think like IOI is going to start to shop their engine around to a lot of people who are looking for an alternative to Unreal Engine, because people now, when they see Unreal Engine, they roll their eyes. And so I think Epic has to respond to this and get out ahead of it. And whether or not it is in fact true that Unreal Engine is solely responsible for the performance woes of these games, that's the perception. That's the perception. Whether it's the dev's fault or it's Epic's fault, the result is the same, which is that players roll their eyes when they see an Unreal Engine game. And so they got to deal with it. Maybe that means sending engineers to go and help developers working on Unreal Engine, help them polish and optimize. Maybe that's the cheapest solution, or it's some sort of major overhaul to how the game handles shader compilation, because that seems to be where most of these problems creep up. Just general optimization needs to happen across the board, because again, it's kind of insane that you can have a PC that's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and it's struggling to break 60 frames. Like, that's just silly. And again, it's one thing if a game is photorealistic. That's my thing. If the game is photorealistic, I can go along with rough performance because, like, I get it, you know? Like, I get it. I can understand it. Oh, this runs poorly, but it looks phenomenal. So I'm okay with it running at 30, for example. But I just don't see that with Borderlands 4. Like, it looks good. Like some of the environments look good, but like I would call it amazing. You know, like I can look and I can see, oh, they increased the polygon counts. I can see that they increased the texture resolution and quality. They're rendering at higher resolutions than ever before. I get all of that, but like I just don't think it looks that good to justify running so poorly. Oh, Lo-Fi, you're right.
Lo-Fi Lazy donated $10 through Super Chat. Perfect time for the creation engine to take over, baby.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that's the pivot? BGS is like, we are now going to become the next Epic. Creation engine will rule the world. Can you imagine? Oh God, that would be funny. I did see a video, I think Nick Tech put it together, of what if Silksong was made by different companies. And they had Silksong if it was made by BGS, and it was like literally every time you move to the edge of the screen and you load into a new like tile or whatever, load screen. It's like, okay, yeah, that's pretty funny. It's pretty good. 5% better looking for half the performance. Yeah, I mean that's basically what it feels like. And again, perception is the reality that you have to deal with. And with this, it's just the perception is that it runs poorly, and they got to fix it. Yeah. May Todd's load screens shine upon you. Indeed. Indeed. Let's see. Anyway, with all this stuff with Borderlands, the core takeaway, I think, is that if you're a fan of Borderlands, you're going to like the game. It's honestly pretty good. The unfortunate reality is that it just runs poorly. Console performance remains to really have been seen or tested in depth, so we'll see how that looks. My guess is that it will run much better on consoles. Unreal Engine games tend to have an easier time on console versus PCs, and so that and like de novo will not be a problem on console, so that also is a component, but still. Excuse me. Still. Yeetus Deletus Ultra, thank you for that. I don't know what you're all on about. Real fans Borderlands will find a way to enjoy the game with the stutters. I'm on my way to Pismo Beach with my friends to play the game right now. Hell yeah. Real fans will find a way. You're right. Real fans will. Real fans. Yes. Yes. That's a reference, everybody, before you get mad at Yeetus Deletus. That's an old reference. Okay. Don't get mad at him. The Decima engine is better. Well, so the Decima engine is very good at what it wants to do, and it was kind of built and reworked from the ground up for open world adventure games, which is why it's so good in Horizon for what it's trying to do, and it's so good in like Death Stranding for what it's trying to do. it would not necessarily be the best engine for like a like it would not work for a game like a Starfield. I don't think it would work for a game with a lot of complex physics simulation, you know, like a Hitman or even like, you know, the new 007 game. I don't think you could get that running in Decima. So it's just different. Like each engine is different and they each have their own strong suits and use cases. You know, the particular version, is it Cryo that Warhorse uses for KCD2? The specific engine that they're using for KCD2, like they really tweaked it and built it from the ground up specifically for the kind of game that they wanted to make. And that's why it works so well for what they're trying to do. But I don't think it would necessarily work well for like Cyberpunk, the Cry engine. There it goes. Yeah, I said Cryo. Yeah, Cry engine. And it looks really well. It's super well optimized. Dude, that thing, I could play it on a handheld on the plane for hours because it was so optimized. It ran so well. It was so refreshing. But unfortunately, that is not the case for a lot of these other games. So, and we know the other thing is, and the reason why I'm not one to just blindly dismiss Unreal Engine writ large is because of this. Do you guys remember seeing the video, the hands-on impressions of Silent Hill F from Digital Foundry? This is an Unreal Engine game that runs at a locked 60.
Game, but it's all visually speaking because this is an Unreal Engine 5 game, but it looks so clean. It's remarkably stable. It doesn't have the typical splotchiness and the sort of like temporal noise that we're so accustomed to with UE5 games. Edges were super sharp in both cases. The performance stable, stutters 0. Everything about it just like looked and ran so well that you almost wouldn't guess that it's a UE5 game, but you can tell once you look closely because the game really leverages that indirect lighting made possible with Lumen, which it is, from what I could tell, just software Lumen currently.
In this footage as well right here, you can see there's a couple points, like there's these scarecrow looking things when they're on the farm fields, and their reflections appear to just be handled by SSR. So I think that lends credence to what you saw there subjectively when you were seeing the demo.
This is an Unreal Engine game, and it runs fantastically well for what it is. And you can hear that they're surprised by it. And it's because typically Unreal Engine games like this would have like a lack of sharpness because they'd be relying on upscalers and things, and temporal upscalers specifically, to try and get performance to improve by rendering at lower resolutions and stuff. Which is why Unreal Engine games can often look really good, you know, in still shots, but once you get them in movement and motion, it starts to look like really blurry and sharp edges are all dithered and soft. That's not a problem here because they optimized the crap out of it. And I think what's happened is that a lot of companies view Unreal Engine as a great tool set because it allows them to get to the point where it's good enough in their eyes quickly and cheaply. So you can get the game running technically at 30 or 60 frames using upscalers. It doesn't look the best, it doesn't run very well, but you can get there. Good enough, you know? Good enough, and I think that's how they view it. But that means that they then don't spend the time, money, and resources bringing in like graphics engineers and software engineers to come in and further optimize and overhaul the engine for their specific uses in the game that they're making to make it run better. And amazingly enough, even though like Konami just had another like Silent Hill Delta, which ran remarkably poorly and was very unoptimized, and then they have this, which is the complete opposite, evidently. It's kind of surprising, but I think it shows that it's not necessarily just the engine. It is how you use the engine, and it is in fact possible to get it running well if you spend the time, money, and resources on making those improvements and customizing it how you need. You know, we look back at games like Batman Arkham Knight, and I'm sorry that we started talking about Borderlands and now we've shifted into Arkham Knight. But Jacob, you can go ahead, keep all this in because I think it's relevant. We look back at Batman Arkham Knight And this game, I mean, this launched at this point a decade ago. This is a decade old. Launched in 2015. And if this launched today, I think we would all say, oh, it's one of the best looking games of this year. It's wild how impressive it runs and looks. But this was also Unreal Engine. But I believe this was a heavily modded version of Unreal Engine 3, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they had upgraded to Unreal Engine 4 at this point. But the point is, they had heavily overhauled it and customized it specifically to get it running the way that they wanted to run it. And it's also what they did with Batman Arkham City, and they also used Unreal for Batman Arkham Origins as well, Asylum as well. And it's just because they used the tool set, but they really overhauled it to make it run the way they wanted it to run. And it worked great. The 30 FPS target also certainly helped. Sure, that is certainly a component of this. The new trend pushing for 60 has forced developers, I think, largely to find places to cut corners. And they found that in various different ways, probably mostly by relying on upscalers and stuff to save the frame budget timing. But still. Also, it triggers me to see somebody playing Batman Arkham Knight with a mouse and keyboard. That just seems wrong. To me, it's just it's such a clear example of a game you play with a controller that it's jarring to see that. But anyway, I'll calm down. CZ James, I do. Okay, and banned. No, so anyway, it's too bad that Borderlands is having these performance issues. I hope they fix them quickly, because I think the game is really good if you can get past the performance issues, and I hope that they're able to get past them quickly, because the game at the core of it is pretty dang good. It's just that they got to figure it out. I mean, they got to get it working better, because where it's at now, I don't think is acceptable on PC. There you go. Yeah, the Arkham games still look gorgeous to this day. Yeah, dude, for real. They've aged really well. And I've tried to go back and be like, is it just because I really like the Arkham games? Like, for me, they are one of my biggest childhood games. I love them dearly. It's like, is it just because I have nostalgia for them, or are they honestly that good? And I think they're honestly just that good. I think it's honestly just that good. Sierra, is your stream from yesterday going to be available, or has something has happened and it will not be listed? It was copyright claimed. So we had a backup through Restream that we were able to download. And so Jacob and Trevor have been cutting off of that backup that we had, but the core stream itself was copyright claimed by Conan O'Brien. I forgive Conan because I love Conan and I think he's very funny and entertaining. I should have known watching a clip of Conan was going to get us copyright struck, but I was too excited in the moment. I was like, oh, let's just watch it. Check it out. They're playing Borderlands and it crashed. And I just didn't even think about it. Oh, well. Oops. Decima, Glacier, Red, RE, and reluctantly Frostbite Engine, I like how it's reluctantly, are doing so much better. Yeah, well, and this is also part of it, is that we see a large number of Unreal Engine games right now, and we also see games that are not super well optimized. And so there's a danger or a risk of correlation, where correlation does not necessarily mean causation, right? Just because a lot of games are launching with performance issues at the same time as a lot of games are launching on Unreal Engine, that does not necessarily mean that they are launching with performance issues because they're on Unreal Engine. It could be a causal relationship, but it could also just be causation, you know? But either way, the perception is that, is this it? The perception is that it is a causal relationship, which is the problem. There is a really funny website about this. Tyler Vegan posted this website. He's got a bunch of these to illustrate the examples and the problems with correlation versus causation. Annual U.S. household spending on pork directly correlates with Lululemon's stock price. So you could say maybe they're causally related. And so if the U.S. spends more money on pork, Lululemon's stock price will go up. But that's not actually what this means. It's causal, or it's correlated. It's not a causal relationship. This one, the number of mobile heavy equipment mechanics in Maine versus customer satisfaction with Verizon. Okay. The number of movies Will Smith appeared in correlates with electricity generation in Kosovo. There you go. UFO sightings in Utah correlates with patents granted in the U.S. Popularity of the first name Lane correlates with the number of merchandise displayers and window trimmers in Alaska. Popularity of the Balloon Boy meme correlates with wind power generated in Fiji. Dude, I forgot about Balloon Boy. That was a Colorado thing. That was in like pretty close to where I live. Balloon Boy. 2009 in my hometown in Fort Collins, Colorado. Yeah, that whole thing was insane. I remember it happening, and I remember like my parents had the news turned on and we were like watching live updates for it. I remember that vividly. I don't know why, but yeah, Internet Historian made a video on it. Yeah. No, that video is very, very good. But yeah, it happened in my hometown, Fort Collins. This is downtown. This is like a nature museum, not museum. It's got like, you can buy fossils and like cool dinosaur stuff in there. It's pretty good. There's a decent sushi restaurant over here as well. There's a bar on this side of the street behind where my face is called Bar Louie. It's like a martini bar. Quite good as well. If you're ever in Fort Collins, you should go there. What else is there? There's like a Ben and Jerry's over there. Cooper Smith's is also right across the way from here. That's good. There's a Mexican restaurant just down this way where the bikers are riding called Illegal Pete's, and they've got a bunch of locations. I think it's Colorado, and then it's also in Arizona, I want to say. But Illegal Pete's is really good as well. Yeah. And apparently we also have balloons and balloon boys. Illegal Pete's, I get the cravings for. But it's technically a chain, so it's not as special. We have a couple of like very specific Colorado locations in downtown, but they're not really over in the square. So it's not quite the same, but like one of the best places, this is a free recommendation, okay? Free recommendation. There is a restaurant in Old Town Fort Collins. This lady took a picture in front of it. So it's reversed, but it's Philippe. It's a French bistro. It's freaking delicious. It's super cute. The meals are amazing. It's so delicious. And it's all I ever want in life. So heavily recommend you go to Philippe if you're ever in downtown Fort Collins. It's run and owned by this like old French lady. It's really cool. So there's a recommendation for you. There you go. What about Chiba Hut? We do, shocker, we're a college town in Colorado, so we do have a Chiba Hut. Yes. It's quite close to a dispensary because of course it is. Because of course. Oh my God. Yeah, of course. Of course it is. Also, this was crazy. Dying Light the Beast is moving up its release date. Always like to see that. Little sign of confidence, a little something, something. I always like to see that. Tells me that you feel you're ready. Now, it's really, really bad if you do that and then it ends up running like crap. And it's like broken and wasn't ready. Then we get to make fun of you. But if it honestly is just polished and it's good to go and you're just like, hey, let's move it up a date. That's just fun. That's just fun. I like that. I know Fort Collins due to South Park. It's shocking how younger people don't watch or don't know of South Park when it was an amazing show like 12 years ago. Yeah, they got like in all those legal battles over the rights to the show, and then they got distracted doing like Casa Bonita and doing Book of Mormon, and so they got a little sidetracked for a while. And now I feel like their muscle memory is a little faded. You know? Like, I feel like everybody was talking about the first episode of South Park this season, and then since then, everybody's like checked out of it. Because it just kind of got bland really quickly. It's like they had a couple of fun ideas and then they just didn't have anywhere else to go with it. Borderlands moved their release date, and look how that worked out. Yeah. And it's even more jarring because I'm like, there's reviewers who mention in their reviews performance issues and bugs and stuff that were fixed in that patch that they put out on the 8th. So they fixed it. But because they fixed it so late in the review period, there were a bunch of people who didn't update their reviews because they'd already made them, and they put it out with technically outdated critiques. But that's what happens when you don't have, like, you should know that when you give a reviewer a game, they're going to review that version of the game. You know, they're going to review that version, not the version that you promise that they're going to have in a week. Like, that's just not how it works. But sir, it runs like crap. Don't worry, we'll make it blurry. Exactly. Should we talk about this guy? This guy that I'm sure everyone will have reasonable level-headed takes about? Let's do it. News segment. Bobbity bobbity boo boo boo. Skibbity toilet riz. I've been told that's what you say when you are cool. Skibbity toilet riz. Okay. Are you guys ready to have a reasonable, level-headed, rational discussion about Neil Druckmann? No? Oh, bummer. Yeah. Whenever we talk about Neil or anything related to Neil, I swear to God, like half of the comment section is just deplorable. It's amazing. It's kind of amazing how many feathers this guy has ruffled, or rumpled, as some people say. You've rumpled my feathers. But let's talk about it, because he is the head of one of the most awarded studios in the games industry. I just ran over my foot pillow. But anyway, he is one of the most awarded developers in the industry, and runs one of the most successful game companies in the industry. And he's talked to Variety about some stuff. So Neil Druckmann on leaving The Last of Us, his new game Intergalactic, and how involved he'll be on season 3. My job is to stay very high level. If you don't recall, basically what happened is that he out of kind of the blue announced that he was leaving the show, which was interesting because we just wrapped up season. Oh, you know what I should do? Hold on. I realize I have something for this. Hold on. Please hold. How do we talk about The Last of Us if we aren't wearing the merch? So let's do this. Okay, so if you don't recall, basically what happened is that after season 2, he announced that he was stepping away. And it was surprising because we're headed into season 3, which is kind of like the big high stakes one. Like, it's where you're going to be showcasing Abby's storyline and you're going to be discussing all of that. And so it's surprising to see that he's choosing to step away right as I would think it's like, oh, we're getting good. Now it's getting into the nitty gritty. But he announced he was stepping away. And then like a day later, it was revealed that Haley Gross, who is his like co-writer, she also chose to step away from the show. And there's kind of two ways that you could look at this, right? Like on the one hand, you could look at it and just say they're working on Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. They're in the final kind of push of development where it's all hands on deck. So they didn't want to split their attention, half between the show, half on the game. They wanted to fully focus on the game, even though they really love the show and think it's great. That is a reasonable feeling. I think I can understand how they might, like, you could conclude that it's really not a big deal at all. The other way of looking at it, which let's be honest is way more fun, is to infer that maybe he's leaving because of creative differences between him and Craig Mazin, which there's a sense of that when you watch season 2, where Neil's episodes that he was directly involved in play a lot differently than the episodes that Craig was directly in charge of and other directors were in charge of. So I just get the vibe that maybe there was like creative frustration, specifically because Neil, I don't think, liked some of the reworkings of Ellie as a character, who just turned her into like an impulsive and chaotic Nepo baby, as opposed to like a capable and cutthroat killer, which she is in the games. But you know, the second option is basically that there's some sort of dispute or disagreement on the direction of the show. And so paired with the first reason, which is that he needs to be focused on the game, he decided to leave along with Haley. And they're kind of leaving the show to just be what it's going to be and move on. Who knows? Who knows? We probably won't ever know exactly why, but that's what's happening. That's the context of this whole situation. And now he says that he'll be involved with season 3, but it's going to stay high level. So let's see what he has to say. So our goals for the show, I had multiple goals. Some of them were selfish. I wanted to elevate The Last of Us beyond the people that have played the game, he told Variety in an interview this week ahead of Sunday's Emmy Awards. I felt like that story could find a bigger audience for people that will never play video games. I wanted to elevate Naughty Dog, and PlayStation has been a home for me for 21 years now, and it's given me all the support to tell these wonderful stories, and I wanted to elevate video games. It was such a crazy goal, but I wanted someone to watch this show and have no idea it was based on the video game, and then be like, wait, that's based on a video game? Which absolutely happened. My in-laws actually had that happen exactly. Like, they were saying, we watched this new show. It's really good, really intense, really, really good writing. It's called The Last of Us. I was like, I thought they were joking with me, but no, like, they honestly had no idea it was a video game IP. You know, it actually did happen. That what he wanted to happen, people that don't play games, that they would try it and be like, I had no idea this started from there, because people just kind of blindly dismiss video games as something for like teenagers or whatever. But no, he actually achieved it. It actually did happen. That, at least in my life, that happened. Druckmann announced he was stepping away as his co-showrunner on The Last of Us in July, following the season 2 finale and its season 3 renewal. The finale reached 3.7 million viewers, and the second season had a higher average viewership than season 1. This is why, you know, the old saying is with Mark Twain. He would always say there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Because you can kind of twist it however which way you want. Yes, the finale reached 3.7 million viewers. Yes, the second season had a higher average viewership than season 1. You can also flip it and say that the viewership for the finale of season 2 dropped like 50% compared to the finale for season 1, which would imply that you were losing viewership over time. Or maybe that The Last of Us started slow, so like the first few episodes had lower viewership, but then word of mouth made the finale really spike as people watched it on the back catalog, where it wouldn't be counted in the initial wave of views. Whereas season 2 just kind of plateaued very quickly. Who knows? But the point is, there's two ways to look at, you know, a spreadsheet like this. This Sunday, it's nominated for Outstanding Drama Series, Best Actor for Pedro Pascal, and Best Actress for Bella Ramsey at the Emmys. We have this data. People have watched the show and have come back and bought a PlayStation or bought it on PC and have played The Last of Us, and that has become this gateway for them for this medium that I love so much, he said. But it was really hard work, and I was really there in the weeds to get season 1 off the ground, and then it was important to get season 2 and the storyline for game 2 off the ground as well, because I love that story so much. But now I felt like the path has been set for it. It was time to go back to the thing that started it all, which is just full-time video game work. But other things are coming, and we can announce more things soon. Another re-release? That's what it sounds like to me. It's like the joke goes, name the last 5 Naughty Dog games. Okay. The Last of Us. Correct. In leaving Craig Mazin as sole showrunner on the series, Druckmann wasn't headed to a new job, but rather going back to his full-time gig as the chief at one of PlayStation's most prized studios, where he's currently working on his next big game, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Naughty Dog is bigger than any one person. There's been a lot of big personalities that have come through Naughty Dog, and while I was working on the show, there were a lot of people that have stepped up. Matthew Gallant, the game director, Claire Carre, maybe? Narrative director, Kurt Margenot, the game director, and Allison Mori, the studio manager. They really allowed me to do this other thing for a while and help set up the show. With Variety, Druckmann discussed his exit from The Last of Us and teased Naughty Dog's next game. I don't really care about the Emmys. Maybe that's mean of me. I just don't. How do you compare the award scene? Okay. Where were you looking when you were looking at The Last of Us season 2? What you wanted to submit for the Emmys? What were the episodes? Okay. I'm sorry, I just don't care that much about the Emmys. Season 2, come back. Okay. At what point during the season 2 process, if it was during publicity, or when exactly did you decide you were going to step away and come back to Naughty Dog full time? Okay. It was right when we were about to start the writer's room for season 3. I looked at what's in front of me, what would the next season, or what the next season might look like, with all the various Last of Us things I'm working on. Not just the show, with all the various games I'm working on. The biggest one that takes up the most of my time is Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, our next big IP for Naughty Dog and PlayStation. It felt like I could better serve all of my responsibilities if I stayed at a higher level. It was quite challenging to be involved as a co-showrunner in season 1 and season 2 while running a studio and working and directing and writing a game. I really appreciate at Naughty Dog how many people stepped up while I was gone working on season 2. Specifically, I spent quite a bit of effort on episode 206, prepping it, writing it, directing it. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do that again. So I felt it around that period when we were wrapping up the press and really about to get started in earnest with season 3, that it was that was a good time to reassess everything. I also hated that they ruined my characters and destroyed what we built. It was really frustrating. I don't blame you. I don't know another video game studio head who is also a co-showrunner on a series. I think Todd has tried, or at least not tried. Todd has dabbled a little bit. Like the Fallout show, he was involved with that, at least sort of in passing, because he had to go and tell them what not to do, what to do, because they're doing some things with Fallout 5, and he had to go and tell them, don't go here, do that, don't do that. Like for right now, for example, it's rumored that Fallout 5 probably takes place in like San Francisco. And I think that Todd probably told the showrunners, don't travel all the way down to San Francisco. Instead, maybe go to the east, go to New Vegas, because we've established that. But if you go to San Francisco, then we have to adhere to what you establish, and we want to do it our own way. So I think that's probably what happened, but anyway. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I will say I did really enjoy it, and I took a lot from it. I joked that I went to the best film school by working on the show, and I got to just really collaborate with incredible artists. There's a lot I learned, even just as far as the craft of making cinematic storytelling. There's so much that overlaps with my work at Naughty Dog that I feel like I took quite a bit from that. I think I could better serve this show and other adaptations like it in the future, having learned all this stuff, but my first responsibility, my first love is video games, and it's at Naughty Dog. Okay. Yeah, how are you going to be involved in season 3? What would you like to do differently? Okay. We had started talking about what is left to adapt back when we were working on season 2, because we knew we would not be able to finish it and we were going to end up on a cliffhanger. As I was saying earlier, my job now is to stay very high level. As much as I miss getting into the weeds and working on the effect shots and giving script notes and really getting into the details of it, I'm trying to just shepherd it. My hope for season 3, and what I'd like to think I can best contribute to it, is to make sure it's as deeply faithful as season 1 was, because I feel like that is the gold standard for this kind of adaptation, while enjoying all these beautiful expansions that happen naturally with the rest of the team and how they're working on season 3. So that is where my involvement will stay, is at that very, very high level. Interesting. It is interesting that his one thing he wants to say about season 3 is that he wants it to stay faithful, which I feel like season 2, in the motions and like the broad strokes, it was pretty accurate, but once you got down to the nitty-gritty, there were a bunch of small weird changes that just, I think, lost focus and made it really come off like they didn't want this version of Ellie to come off as the same version in the game. Same with like the portrayal of Abby being different, or the portrayal of Joel not Joel, Tommy being different. It felt almost like there was a disconnect. And my running theory has been for a while that it was that Craig Mazin was worried that the audience wouldn't like Ellie if she were as hardcore as she is in the games. So they tried to kind of do this balancing act where they leaned into the silly, goofy, childlike whimsy of Ellie from season 1 and tried to still keep that up in season 2, but I don't think it works. Like, I'm not sure if it works, you know? But I don't know. Like, this is also the tricky thing with these, is that, like, he's saying that he's involved in the nitty gritty details and the script writing and script notes, practical effects shots, which I'm sure is like super freaking fun. And keeping something tonally consistent between multiple seasons and a like 25-hour video game has got to just be an absolute nightmare. But I mean, either way, I think to a certain extent, you have to look at the reaction to the audience, which is that for most people, they felt like season 2, something had shifted and changed from season 1. Whatever that is, I think is what we've been discussing and debating and talking about for months. But I feel like something had shifted and changed. Maybe it is just that season 2's or the part 2 story is much harder to adapt. And maybe that's why it just was from the outset kind of going to be extremely difficult to do. Maybe it was just creative differences. Maybe it's some sort of shift in the audience's perspective or expectations, but I feel like something changed, you know? I feel like something changed. We were watching one guy's critique of season 2, and he put it really, really well, where he described Ellie's recklessness and Ellie's lack of tactical ability. He put it so well. He was like, the fact that she is not as tactical and calculated as Ellie in season or in part 2, the game, makes so much of what happens elsewhere in the story of season 2 feel off. Because, like, for example, her being on the patrol at the beginning of the story doesn't feel earned because she is not depicted as somebody really capable. So it turns her into what feels like a Nepo baby, where she's been put in that position by Joel because Joel wants her to get that experience, or he wants her to mature, or whatever the implication would be. But it changes it from like she's worked her way and deserves to be on that patrol to now she was put there because Joel wants her to get that experience. And I was like, I hadn't identified that feeling, but it did kind of feel that way when she's not calculating, when she's not super careful. She literally has other people in the scenes holding her back because she wants to impulsively go in after what scene was it? There was one scene where she's going after somebody and they like physically have to hold her. And I was like, I think that puts it really well. Like something as simple as removing a level of calculated consideration from a character can totally change not just how she's perceived by the audience, but how the other characters in the scene perceive her as well. And it can really, really shift the respect that the audience has for the character, and then also the other people in the scene that they have for the character, which is really, really interesting. It's really interesting. Corey, good to see you. Neil and everyone over at Naughty Dog are just so effing smart and talented. Really excited to be able to see what they're working on. Well, and like, I'm going to be real. I'm really excited that, like, of course we meme on Neil a lot because he does have more money than us and he is better than us. And I am jealous of all of his fancy watches. But I am excited to see what an all hands on deck Naughty Dog game in all likelihood, like 2026, 2027, what that looks like, because Naughty Dog is one of the few developers out there, Santa Monica being another, that really, like, every time they do something, you know that the industry is going to take a step forward. Like in one way or another, it's going to take a step forward. And I feel like people are hungry for that. They're hungry for a step forward, because there's been some amazing like AA games and some amazing indie games and stuff, but I think that there's a lot of frustration within the broader gaming public that it feels like we've kind of plateaued for a little bit, and we're getting games like right now it's just exciting to get a game that's polished and that runs well, much less a game that really wows you in some sort of crazy novel way, which, you know, that's why seeing them go back and focus, I think, is probably the right choice. Like, making an HBO show, I'm sure, is really cool and fun, but if you're a video game developer and you happen to also be in charge of like one of the most prolific and awarded studios in the world, it is selfish of me as a gamer. I'd rather you be in the studio making games, you know? Like, that's just what I prefer. Like, you're a world-class developer. I'd rather you are working on world-class video games, you know? They go on. So turning to Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, that was a huge announcement for you all out of the Game Awards last December. You've said Naughty Dog has been working on it since 2020. Where are you, or where you are in the process right now? And will we see or hear more about that at one of PlayStation's upcoming State of Play presentations? What can I say and not say? I can tell you we're in the thick of it. We're making it. We're playing it. We're firing on all cylinders. I've said this before, but I really mean it. I'm really feeling it right now. It's the most ambitious game we've ever made. It's the most expansive game we've ever made. Maybe the most expensive by the time it's finished. Troy Baker is in the game. I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, let's be honest. I can't say I'm shocked. It's been 5 years since we worked with Troy, and I've got to do it again. And it's been a lot of fun to be on the stage with him again. As for the show stuff, I'm so antsy to show it and talk about it, because the trailer we showed doesn't even scratch the surface what the game actually is. But announcing the game like this, especially when it's a new IP, especially when it's coming out of Naughty Dog, you've got to coordinate with marketing, PR, and a bunch of people. So I'd be foolish of me to say when we're going to show something right now. Interesting. I do think we've looked at some of the leaks about the game. And there's been a couple of journalists that have spoken to sources that have worked on the game, and some people that used to work on the game very early on and have shifted. There's been comparisons to games like Elden Ring. There's been comparisons to projects like that. And Neil has also said in interviews when discussing the project or other projects he's working on that he's really excited by environmental storytelling and broader storytelling that's not as guided as we've seen with more typical Naughty Dog games, where it's like scene to scene to scene to scene to scene, maybe with some gameplay, you know, intermixed, but it's largely a very linear thing. It really sounds like they're going to try something different, and they're going to try to go very wide open as opposed to tight and narrow, which to me is just interesting, because I'm like, Naughty Dog's thing has historically been linearity so that they can have high production set pieces and cinematics and that type of thing. So to see them experimenting with something wide open and crazy is very interesting. We also know from some, just like even the concept art, for example, what we saw in some of the concept art for The Last of Us Online depicted pretty large levels. This is the picture. Where's the full pic? There. No, it shows the ship too. Maybe. That's good enough. But like this open image, a new tab. There we go. So with this, like, we see a depiction of a level, which of course it's just concept art. It would not necessarily be directly indicative of the game, but I get the feeling that they were going for much more open environments, much larger maps, nothing we'd really seen before in Naughty Dog games. Naughty Dog games, like, we had the large open levels in Lost Legacy. We had the large area in Seattle when you first arrive with Ellie and Dina, but we had never really gotten the chance to explore like city blocks extended from city block to city block to city block. But I think for The Last of Us Online, they probably did a lot of tech work on the back end to get that working and to get it supported. And that tech work, you know, people have asked, what will become of The Last of Us Online? Well, as with a lot of canceled projects, I think bits and pieces of it get spread to other things they're working on. So you might see some of the multiplayer stuff used maybe in an update for The Last of Us 2, and they add like a factions mode, but it's a little smaller than they would have intended initially. Or maybe they use a lot of the engine improvements they made for that, and they're able to utilize that in Heretic Prophet and expand that out and use that for big open environments. There's all sorts of different things that you could do with it. Just because the game itself doesn't see the light of day as a standalone package, it does not mean that everything they worked on just disappears. You know, like they did a lot of work. They're going to use what they can in other places. And as for when they reveal it, who was it? There was one person out there, I think it was another YouTuber, who was saying, I just have a gut feeling we see it by 2026. Like we're going to get it maybe next spring or something. It's like, I don't know, man. I really don't know. Like, I know we have Wolverine. I think Wolverine's probably like one of the big games for next year. We know that Sony has a lot of other games they're going to need to publish and push out. They've got 2 different Horizon multiplayer projects. They've got, of course, Marathon. Fair Game $ might release still. I don't know, man. I really don't know. So who knows? Who knows? But I just get the feeling that Heretic Prophet's a little further off. You've described Intergalactic multiple times as having the deepest gameplay in Naughty Dog's history. Can you tease that out a little bit more? I'm not sure that I can. I appreciate that he at least like expands instead of just no. You could look at our previous titles and see the evolution of going from Uncharted, where we're really cutting our teeth on realistic character action game, third-person shooter combined with emotional storytelling. With The Last of Us, we added some RPG elements. We started playing with wide linear layouts. Continue that trajectory forward, add sci-fi, and you get the start to get the sense of what we're doing. And then we've gotten even more ambitious than that. I mean, the natural continuation of this is that some RPG elements has turned into really deep and expansive RPG elements. We started playing with wide linear layouts of levels like Seattle, like that big hub section in Lost Legacy. Natural extrapolation trajectory forward would be that, okay, that's going to expand into like actual open levels, expansive levels, or even just an open world period. You could totally do that. Let's see. Other things like third-person shooter combined with emotional storytelling. I think this time they're going to go with more of a melee focus just based on the trailer. So it's going to be very interesting. So really looking forward to see how that all comes together. I think you're all going to be pleasantly surprised by it. I was really excited to see Tati Gabriel's casting reveal as the lead for Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. How did that casting come about? We were already writing for a long time. It's very hard to make a sci-fi game, especially from a writing standpoint compared to Uncharted or The Last of Us, because those are, despite the infected and the supernatural elements of Uncharted, they're very grounded. Here we have to not only come up with the universe, but what are the rules of the universe? What's this history? Because we're jumping 2,000 years in an alternate future. We also have to figure out the lore of this planet, Sempira, that Jordan, our hero, ends up on and has to work to escape from. So I had the idea, or some idea, of who the character was, but by the time, but the way we write in games, a little bit different from the show, is that we outline for a really long time and make all these documents and backstories, but we try to save the scripts for as long as possible because the big unknown is gameplay. Gameplay is often very theoretical, and then you try to implement it and you have to run experiments and prototypes and then see what works, what doesn't work, and sometimes the things that don't work or do work will dictate what kind of story you can tell. So you don't want to get it too attached to a bunch of details and then have to throw away and start very high level. That makes sense. Checks out. I can only imagine how freaking difficult and nightmarish it must be to try and write a story for a video game in a new IP when you don't even know like how it's going to work. Like it's gotta be a nightmare. Gotta be a nightmare, dude. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Let's see. We were kind of at that stage where we started talking to Tati. That came about because we had just cast her in season 2 of The Last of Us and just got the idea that she might be the perfect person for this role. Then she showed up, came by Naughty Dog. I pitched her the story as it was at the time, and we kind of walked through it beginning, middle, and end and explained what her role would be. I asked her if she'd be willing to audition, and she was. We had her on stage and asked Troy to come in and read with her. So she read against Troy Baker. We were just very confident. That is our Jordan A. Munn. That makes me think Troy's role it's much more significant, because if you remember in the Grounded documentary for The Last of Us Part 1, they were talking about the casting of Joel. And when they cast Joel, they had Joel read against Ashley, who they had already found, who of course was also co-starring in it. So it could end up being like a Troy and Tati story, like all the way through. We just haven't seen a lot of details of Troy or anything. Ever since then, I've been writing with her, just like when I worked with Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker on The Last of Us, and how much they influenced the characters. She has been just as influential in the writing and thinking of this character, her arc, and I believe she's going to be very iconic and complex and interesting in the Naughty Dog tradition. Are you looking at any other Last of Us season 1 or 2 stars to bring to the cast for Intergalactic? Well, I worked with Tony Dalton on episode 206. He played Joel's dad, and immediately when I finished shooting, we had this role for him in Intergalactic. I DM'd him on Instagram like, hey man, I don't know if you're done in video games or have done video games before or performance capture, but I think you'd be perfect for this. Do you mind jumping on a Zoom call? I just want to show you something. We jumped on a Zoom call. I showed him parts of the game and I talked to him about it. He's like, yeah, I'm in. I'd love to do it. So Tony Dalton is there, and maybe there's a few more. Interesting. They asked about like adaptations of Intergalactic. I think it's tricky. Like, you don't want to end up with a Concord situation and then adapt something before it's been proven in the market with like the audience. I'm not saying that Intergalactic won't do well. I'm just saying, like, maybe wait to make plans for film and TV adaptations until it's at least come out, you know? Maybe pump the brakes just a little, chill. Let's see. Intergalactic was announced as a new franchise, so does that mean Naughty Dog's focus moving forward is on additional Intergalactic games after Heretic Prophet? Or is there a chance that you'll do The Last of Us 3 or a new Uncharted game? Ooh, interesting. We don't tend to plan too much in the future because we find, and this is something I inherited, it's just the Naughty Dog culture that we do our best work when it's something we're really excited about, really passionate about. Just to give you an example, when we finished The Last of Us Part 2 and that was highly successful for us, we were debating, I can't read, whether we should just go straight into The Last of Us 3. And we had a really long period where we looked at ideas for maybe what could be in that game. We have Uncharted as an IP. We have Jack and Daxter as an IP, but the team was really excited to do this sci-fi thing we'd been talking about for a while, and that's been where our passions lie. So that's where we're moving forward. I'm sure if Intergalactic is successful, we will, or you will see it again. Whether that will be our next game right after that, I can't say, and I can leave that door open. Not to be coy for this particular question, we want to see how we feel once we're done with it and look at the options in front of us, because we have some other ideas we'd like to explore as well. There's also rumors that the second team at Naughty Dog is working on like an Uncharted game, like a smaller, maybe Lost Legacy style Uncharted game with Nathan's daughter. Could very well be the case. Who knows? I don't know. I'm interested. So overall, interesting interview. Some interesting things to take away, but overall, like I said, I think that him stepping away from the show is the right choice because it allows him to focus on what he is good at. You don't have to like Neil, but pretty clearly he knows what he's doing. If your goal is to have a video game that sells well and that critics love, he knows what he's doing. So having him focus on what he's good at, I think, is best for everybody involved on that side of it. And then as for the project itself, I still think we're a good ways out. I think Intergalactic, like maybe you get a trailer or something, an additional trailer. Naughty Dog has a history of showing things much longer periods. Like they'll do trailers for 2, 3, 4 years. Whereas other studios, they want to do it in like 6 months, 9 months or something. So I think most likely it'll be a while before we actually get the game, but we might get an additional trailer or something. I'm mainly interested in like a gameplay trailer or something like that, because I felt the first trailer they dropped for Intergalactic just wasn't very good at communicating what it even was. It just was like, okay. So I'm hoping we get another something that we can sink our teeth into and actually like pick apart a little bit more. And I'm guessing it's going to be one of those trailers. Looking back, we look back at the first trailer and we see all of like the little hints and nods and things that they were pointing towards elsewhere. So I think all of that's gonna eventually make sense. But as of right now, I just don't think it communicates a lot very clearly. But we will see. Because it is coming. It's just a matter of time. But I need them to hurry up because I want it in my life. Are you guys ready? You think art style in games make it less outdated? Maybe timeless. Outdated feels aggressive as a term for that, but I think a good art style can make a game timeless. Timeless. That's what I'll say. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Gaming Night. Very generous. I'll let it read it. Thank you.
Gaming Night donated $10 through Super Chat. Hey Luke, so I recently finished the Mass Effect trilogy, which was amazing, and I remember hearing about the upcoming game. Do you think it'll release this console generation, and have you heard anything?
I have heard things. But it's nothing like really actionable. They are basically what happened after Dragon Age Veilguard was that the team was pretty decimated, like kind of insanely so. Like, for example, every writer that worked on Dragon Age the Veilguard, every single person in the credits related to writing was fired or ended up finding a different job somewhere else. So like they were welcomed to fire. But the point is, nobody that wrote that game is still there. A bunch of the people that worked there in like a big picture directorial sense, they're also gone. They've gone off. Most of them have landed on their feet, hired at other studios and stuff, but they're not at BioWare anymore. Whether that was because they wanted to leave or because they were told you need to go find another job because otherwise we're going to fire you in a year, I don't know. But right now, the team is like 80 people, plus or minus 10. And so it's basically just a lean, mean Mass Effect machine. And the other interesting thing is that BioWare, and this wasn't really known, but BioWare as a company was pretty well split in two. There was the Mass Effect team, and then there was the Dragon Age team. And this goes back a decade, 2 decades. I mean, this has always been the case. The people making Mass Effect are not the people doing Dragon Age. Of course, there's some overlap because some like engineers will be used for both. But the core like designers and stuff, they've always kind of been separated. And there was, I think it was Jason Schreier reported on some of the inner drama within this because the Dragon Age team felt like the Mass Effect team could always get away with whatever they wanted and weren't interested in helping them. And it was just a lot of infighting. But what seems to have happened after Veilguard is that this whole thing is gone. So they like pretty much just cleaned house and trimmed off a little bit of this as well. So now you have a very lean, mean Mass Effect machine who knows that this is kind of all or nothing. Like this is kind of everything they've got. But they are being given the chance to do it. I think EA knows that Mass Effect is such a fantastically huge franchise with a ton of nostalgia that they can, if they can deliver a solid game, it could turn out like a decent profit. They just have to keep the budget low or not ridiculous, and they have to meet fan expectations. 2 very difficult things in 2025, but that's the mandate. That's the mandate. So I think they understand the assignment. And honestly, Mass Effect, whatever they call the next one, I think it stands a much better shot of being successful than Dragon Age did. I always felt really bad for the Veilguard guys because, like, let's be real. It was a game that started as a single player game. It turned into like a multiplayer game. And then, or actually, I think it technically started as a multiplayer game, turned into a single player game, turned back into a multiplayer game, and then turned back into a single player game. Like it went through multiple game directors at each one of these spots. It went through major overhauls, and every single time parts of the previous version were cut, but then other parts remained. So each way down this path, they ended up, with just an incredibly high budget. Even though the game didn't really, I think, justify the insane budget that they ended up with, but it was because they basically made 4 games and then released it at the price of 1. And that just, the math doesn't math, like the math doesn't math in that case. It doesn't matter how good your game is. If you spent $200 million making it over the course of a decade, it's really hard to make that money back. Like, it just is. It's just very difficult. So Mass Effect, I think, stands a much better shot at being successful compared to Dragon Age and like breaking even and actually turning a profit, because Mass Effect is basically just on that first level. So they shouldn't have as much wasted time and money. And now they also have a very, very clear example of what gamers don't want them to do. They don't want like the kitschy, campy, watered down role-playing stuff. They want old school hardcore role play. They don't want romances where the romances are just two characters drinking a cappuccino. They want it sticky and sweaty. You know? I can't even tell you, dude. One of my friends who we play D&D with, she's hardcore Dragon Age fan. Like hardcore. She's played all of them a dozen times. Like, she knows them backwards and forwards. And her like number one frustration, like she was telling me after she finished the game, she did like 3 playthroughs, and then she told me all about it before we started a D&D session one day. And she's telling me all about it, and she's like, yeah, and then she's listing off her frustrations with the side quests. And she's like, and I'm frustrated because in my second playthrough I did this, but then in my third playthrough I did the opposite and nothing changed. And she's explaining all of her frustrations over like no real depth in the role play and all that. But she's like, but the worst thing of all, what is with the romances? Like, that for her was the final straw. After everything else, she's like, the final straw, and perhaps it was indicative of just kind of how much the roleplay had been neutered kind of from the older games. The roleplay was what really did it for her. She's like, that's the one thing I can't forgive. Like, how do you screw up a romance between a dude with horns and then like a small dainty woman? How do you screw that up? You know? Does she write smut fan fiction? Maybe. I don't know. So anyway, I think Mass Effect stands a better chance of success than Dragon Age did. But I also think that it still is a tough spot to be in, because I don't care how good you are or anything. They are at a studio that has now had 3 back-to-back failures from EA's perspective. Like, they did not make a lot of money and they're doing pretty poorly. And their studio has been decimated by the technical term, which is reduced by 1/10. It was decimated several times over after Dragon Age the Veilguard. And now it's all on them. Like, the BioWare legacy is on them. I am shocked that EA has still kept them open. Honestly, after Dragon Age, I was expecting them to probably shut it down, but they've been given another chance, it seems. So, but you better believe EA executives are watching that pretty closely. They're like, going to do story reviews and all that. It's why I don't think it's a coincidence that BioShock. I think BioShock is suffering similar things, because I had somebody reach out to me who was able to demonstrate to my satisfaction that they were who they said they were, and they were involved with BioShock. But it was only one source. So it could have just been a disgruntled employee or somebody just making up stuff for the memes. So I won't say specifically what they said until somebody else verifies it, and I hear from a second source the same thing. But what this person told me was that the narrative review that they allegedly failed, or reportedly rather failed, that kickstarted the studio director being fired, the game director being moved out of position, somebody else being brought in, a bunch of other layoffs and stuff. What this person told me was the narrative review. I will just say, like, if what they told me was true, I think they made the right choice. Because what they had described to me, I think, how do I say this? I think we would have been able to make a lot of videos. I'll just say that. Like, I'll just say that we would have been able to make a lot of videos about it. So I think it was the right choice, is what I'm saying, based on what this one person told me. It could be that that person was mistaken. It could be that that person was just making stuff up. I want to be clear about that, which is why I'm not going to get specific. But if what that person told me, I'm like, okay, so maybe it was for the best that BioShock got like a little creative shakeup, because woof. But I think that that's what's happening, is that a lot of these executives are like, so we can spend $100 million on a game for years and years and years, and it's an established franchise and everybody knows and loves it. And after all of that, it can flop because the writing is cringy, or because the writing is like too political, or this or that. Okay, we're not going to have that be the reason this fails. Like something as stupid as that, we're not going to let that be the reason this fails. So I think executives and people are getting much more involved. I mean, I'll say I've been asked and shown some stuff from projects that are in the works across the industry, looking for feedback, because they don't want to end up in this situation where they announce and reveal something and then they're shocked at the public reception to it. And we've seen it with even other games. Like there was the reporting that Fair Game $, they did a play test or something, and based on the reception to the play test, they shook up the team, and like the co-founder of the studio left out of nowhere and all this. And I think it's because there's a clear approach now that these big executives and publishers and develop studios, they just do not want to end up in that situation where they're surprised at how poorly something is received when they could have just asked. That's what's always blown my mind about so many of these things that launch and are just so cringy. So I'm like, you could have asked literally anybody. You could have gone home, invited your grandson over, and shown him a clip, and he would have made fun of you. You know, like there's no excuse for you being shocked at the reception to it. Like, 'cause you could have asked anybody. Anybody could have told you that, you know? Let's see. Vintage Grapes, thank you for the 2. Best single player game for a dad with limited time. 2 things. Limited time, if you only have like a few hours, I'm going to say it as I say it to everybody, play The Forgotten City. It works on PC, it's on consoles, it's on Steam Deck, you can play wherever. It's fantastic. It's a smaller game. It's built around time loops, so you can play one time loop and set the handheld down if you need to, pick up where you left off later. It works really well for like grab and go gaming like that, and it's very, very good. So Forgotten City, I will always recommend to people. It's really good. Other games for like pick up and play a little bit and stuff like that. Kind of depends on what you like. I like sim games, so whether it's Factorio, whether it's City Skylines, Another Brick in the Mall, anything like that, I love those games because you just play a little bit, improve your systems a little bit, and then you move on with your day. I love that. Hades is really good. Yeah, you can do a run. Yeah, there's a bunch. There's a bunch. Yeah. Oh, Balatro will ruin your life though. Buckle up. You'll like start playing Balatro and then you'll look up and it will have been like 3 hours. You're like, what the hell happened? That's just Balatro. Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah. AC Odyssey, small, not grindy at all, and very streamlined. How dare you, Lucio? How dare you? I'm sensing an air of sarcasm in your words. Call it a suspicion. Call it a hunch. Call it a hunch. Rimworld's another one that will consume your freaking life, dude. That one will eat up your life. Let's talk about this. You've been asking for this. We got to talk about it. Okay. News of it. Brr. It's a day that ends in Y, Friday, which means that we have another story that tells us just how Nintendo is just kind of the worst, man. Like, I get it. people grew up playing Nintendo games and consoles, and so it's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. I get it. But bro, they do some stuff that's just slimy and evil. Okay, like sometimes they're just the worst. Okay. What they've done, Nintendo has now patented like literally the act in a video game of summoning characters and making them battle on your behalf. What? Okay. As spotted by Games Fray, Nintendo was granted a patent last week which covers the action of summoning another character and making them battle on the other player's behalf. Specifically, the patent describes a situation where a console or other system is being used to run a video game from storage. The player controls a character in virtual space. The player can perform an input command to make a sub-character appear, such as summoning another character. If there's an enemy where the sub-character appears, the player can control a battle between the sub-character and the enemy. If there's no enemy where the sub-character appears, the sub-character will automatically move around. The player can move the sub-character to a different location on the field, and if an enemy is there, they can control a battle between the sub-character and the enemy. Of course, most obvious example is in a Pokemon game, of course, but it could also cover a number of other franchises like the Pikmin series, classic, of course, and literally any other game on Earth where you could summon something that then behaves in a sort of predictable way where they fight. Yeah, Elden Ring, technically the Mimic tier or like Elden Ring summons could technically fall under this description. Like, say I want to summon, we'll go Mimic tier. You pop the Mimic tier. It summons a copy of you. So as the rule describes, you create a sub-character. They appear in a virtual space on a video game or console being run from storage. Okay, so we've already met all these standards. And then there's a character where the sub-character appears. So then in this case with Elden Ring, the difference would be that the character would fight for you. You wouldn't control the battle for the Mimic tier. Like it would be controlled dynamically by the AI. But if they had like some version of Elden Ring where you summon a character and then you fight as your summon, or you fight as whatever you summon, that would then violate this. Like what? Yeah, rip Diablo Necromancer. Like, it's just insane. Like, this is how we ended up with the situation where Warner Brothers patented the Nemesis system, and now it's been almost a decade. A decade since we saw the Nemesis system. That's literally Persona. It's like literally a lot of things, dude. It's so broad. I'm shocked that they were granted it. Like, I'm shocked. So there are already concerns online over Nintendo's new patent and how it could lead to a number of lawsuits in which it sues any other company that tries to implement summoning mechanic in its game, putting future titles in series like Persona at risk. However, whereas trademark law says that a company could lose its trademark if it doesn't challenge any infringements, this isn't the case with patents. While Nintendo has patented this mechanic, it can choose not to pursue any other company it decides to use it, and only do so when it feels its own IP is being threatened. This was the case with Power World, which was seen accusation of plagiarizing the Pokemon games since its release in early 2024. They filed a lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. But this is true. So one of the reasons why I've upset some people, where I've defended companies for filing trademark disputes over like some stupid things at times. And it's because of how poorly written US trademark laws and regulations are written. But basically, like, you remember SkyDrive? SkyDrive, it was like a company for online cloud storage. They tried to sue No Man's Sky for the title because it had Sky in the name. And so, like, that's pretty stupid because clearly nobody's going to mistake SkyDrive with No Man's Sky, the video game. Nobody's going to get those two mixed up. But because they were similar-ish, their lawyers filed a like notice or whatever over the trademark infringement, possible infringement, potential infringement to the company behind No Man's Sky, Hello Games. And they were able to settle it and resolve it, and it wasn't that big of a deal at the end of the day. But because it included the term sky, they had to defend it. Because under US law and a lot of international laws as well, if you do not actively protect your trademark, you basically forfeit it. So if I trademark, I don't know, iPhone 32, which you couldn't technically do, but let's just say I did it 20 years ago, okay? If I am not going and actively defending my trademark, filing takedown notices, cease and desists over the last 20 years, by the time Apple comes along and wants to use the name iPhone 32, because I have not defended it, I effectively forfeit it. You know, I wasn't defending it. I clearly didn't actually care about it. So I forfeit it. And that's what they set up because they wanted to prevent people from just trademarking everything on the planet, because that would be technically possible. And then they just would sue everybody for some fee whenever you used anything. And the way they avoided that was by making it so prohibitively expensive to maintain and defend trademarks that it's only going to be done when it's actually something you want to protect. That's at least the idea. With this, though, patents, that doesn't hold true. You can select who you enforce your patent against. You can grant permission for it when you see fit. For example, like Elon with Tesla's patents over their like motors and some of their electric vehicle standards for like charging and stuff. They opened their patents and said, we're not going to enforce these. Everybody use them. Hyundai, Ford, whoever, use our patents because we want to make electric vehicles more normalized. So they opened their patents up for everybody to use. They selected or rather elected not to enforce their patents or defend them in that way, which you can do while still holding the patent. With this, though, the problem is we just don't know. Like, Nintendo may very well start suing big companies who try to use a basic gameplay mechanic like this and try to settle and get extra cash out of it. They may sit on the patent and literally only use it in the instances like Pal World, where it's like pretty on the nose what they're doing. But the point is, we don't know. And the patent would allow them to do it in both the kind of inconsequential, not that big of a deal way, where they just don't really enforce it very often. But it would also allow them to enforce it in the really serious, severe situation where they're starting to sue like everybody. Oh, Elden Ring, no more summons. Persona, you can't have personas anymore. Like, they could technically do that if they wanted. And I'm not saying that they would win. I think that, you know, plenty of lawyers would get in here and be like, this patent was granted in 2025, and now they're trying to retroactively enforce it on systems and mechanics that have been around for, in some of these franchises, like, you know, a decade, 2 decades. So I think they would go to court, and Nintendo would not necessarily automatically win, you know, a patent infringement case because it is very broad. But it's just not, like, I think Nintendo's goal with this is more to be able to stomp on like the smaller indie devs and the AA devs that can't afford a long, like, protracted court battle, to try and stomp out things like Pal World from happening. Like, seriously, it's amazing that Pal World freaked them out so much that now they are acting out like this. But that's what happens, man. That's what happens. They scared the corporate giant, and now they're trying to make sure it never ever happens again. Oh, Sky TV. You're right. Crane, I got it mixed up. Sky News, not Sky Drive. Sky News forced Sky Drive to change into OneDrive because it was Sky Drive and then it turned into OneDrive. And I think it was Sky News, or was it Sky Drive as well? Sky TV that sued No Man's Sky. I don't know. It's been a minute. The point is, there was a word Sky in the company's name, and they filed lawsuits and stuff for patent or copyright trademark infringement. Anyway, this is just another example of Nintendo being kind of slimy and gross. They have a very, like, I think a very, very friendly persona in the public for whatever reason. But man, when you dig down a little bit deeper, it's pretty slimy. They're pretty slimy. And I can't stand it. Also, what is VGC's ads? It's a vegan cruelty-free Pacifica deodorant wipe. Are they calling readers of VGC smelly? Is that what this is? It kind of seems like it. They're like, if you're reading this website, here, you need it. You need it. No pushback from other video game companies in the US. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like, they're going to file their own patent for it? Are they going to go like counter it? Like, what do you do? They can't really do anything. This is more of a patent issue. And then if they get involved with the lawsuit, they'll take them to court at that point and move on from there. But like, what else can you do? The insane part is that it got granted. Yeah. And that's why, like, I'm just frustrated that that stuff like this could happen. I'm frustrated that this could happen and that they would grant it, even though it's pretty clearly extremely broad to the point where it basically doesn't mean much of anything. At least that's the hope, but we'll see. Yeah. Yeah. It's the people that need pushback and stop supporting them. Yeah, well, and I mean, we've known Nintendo's done a lot of slimy stuff for a very long time. Like, this is not new. They've always kind of been like this, but it's still, it never ceases to amaze me how they find another way to just be kind of gross. But their audience will still buy it. They look the other way all the time. Like, it's whatever. It's fine if you want to play Mario Kart or Mario Party or whatever. Like, I get it. For a lot of people, it's their console of choice. I get it, but man. Yeah, we did talk about Neil's review or interview. Yes, we did. Earlier on the stream. We didn't watch any Conan today, so the stream should stay up. That's the hope, at least. That's the hope, at least. Okay, I can close this. Okay. Okay. Let's do, what time is it? Oh, we got a little time. We can talk about this. Okay. Yeah, I posted my Borderlands 4 video. Yes, I did. It's on the main channel, so you know, check it out. Wasn't able to finish it because I've been traveling, but I do have my overall impressions and everything up there on there for you. Yeah. Gonna do a review roundup for Hell Is Us. I don't think a review roundup, but I did post a video on it on the main channel going through it because I do have some thoughts. I really do like it. Yeah. What FPS visualizer do you use in your videos? I use MSI Afterburner. And then they have a little like pop-up on-screen display that you can use. Works pretty well. Did you finish a review yet for Ghost of Yotei? How dare you? I don't plan on doing a review for Yotei. I think the format of the video will be more in line with like one of our I Tried videos, but looking at a much broader cut of the game. But I don't plan on having like a day one embargo lifting review in the same way, if that makes sense. No critique. We might do a critique. It just depends on how good the game is, like, or how much there is to talk about the game. Like, there's some games that are so amazing you want to talk about them for 3 hours. Can do a critique there. There's some games that are so bad you can talk about them for 3 hours. There's some games that are pretty good or even just okay, but there's plenty to talk about for 3 hours. But there's also games that fit into each one of those categories where there's just not a lot to talk about, you know? It might just be boring. It might just be that it's really safe. It might be that it's just more of what you've seen before. It might be any number of things, but it just depends on what the game actually is. Might just be that. So, Where did I go? Oh yeah, the destruction upgrade in the finals. Yeah, the finals. I thought I bookmarked it, but I saw a side by side of the destruction improvements they made, and bro, they are not slacking. Maybe like this. I can find it like this. Embark showcases next gen destruction in season 8. Okay, this is what they just did to the finals.
Used to be like. As you can see, there's a little bit of impact damage, but it's not very significant. This structure here mostly bounces off. And here is how it behaves with smooth destruction enabled. But as you can see, buildings and objects now collapse into others, actually creating real damage that reshapes the environment, creating entirely new play spaces.
Much better.
Every time I see this, it just puts a big smile on my face. It's just so satisfying. And it's something we've dreamed about since the very beginning. It's fantastic to finally have it in the game. The way it enables secondary damage and knock-on effects, changing the entire play space, opens up new possibilities, both strategically and tactically. So it's a fundamental improvement. And I think it's a great example of how much we can gain, not only from adding brand new features to the game, but also from pushing our existing systems, like destruction, even further. We have so much more we're working on with dynamism and destruction. This is really only the beginning. I can't wait to share more of what we're working on later on down the line.
Much better. Much better. So I'm a fan of that. The finals, even though most people say this, it really, really is the most underrated game like that. Like it's so underrated as a live service FPS game. It's so good. So good. Oh man. I hope it continues to find success because it's just so fun. Let's see. Yeah, I love that they don't run the destruction physics locally. It makes the game so smooth. Well, it's the problem with doing it locally would just be that then it would be different for everybody, and that doesn't really work. So it has to be server side, otherwise, you know, it's not synchronized for everybody that's watching it. And so I think that this is the right way to do it. And I mean, clearly it's done well for them. Yeah, Finals was made by former Battlefield devs too, which kind of makes sense when you look at it, but still. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about this. News, I meant. Okay, friend of the channel, Cyberboy has posted a new video discussing GTA 6 rumors, delays, all of that. And as always, you should go subscribe to him. Does a lot of good coverage, not just of GTA, but also of a lot of other games, whether it's Mind's Eye. He's also done a lot of deep dives on other games that ended up being fake. Like one of my favorites that he did was this video on the fake AI generated Titanic game that was going viral on Instagram. It's absolutely crazy, but you should go watch his videos. Really, really good. Okay. We're going to look at this one because he goes through some rumors and speculation around GTA 6 being delayed again. And here's the deal. GTA 6, massive game, tons of money on the line. Absolutely. Was originally slated to come out at some point this year. Most people expected it to be winter or holiday season this year. It was delayed out of that period into May of next year and given a specific date, which typically like 2K or not 2K, Take-Two and Rockstar only do if they're really confident. But it is also important to just remember that this is not the first time that delays have happened, okay? So if we look at the example of Red Dead Redemption 2. So it was maybe I can find the original release windows. Development like, when was it officially announced? I think it was announced in 2016. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 trailers, I guess. Trailer number 1, 7 years ago. Trailer 2. So that's trailer 3. This one 8 years ago, October 2016. You know, and so all these things got delayed slowly and booped out of their initial windows. You see at the end of this, it splashes the logo. Fall of 2017 was the original release date for Red Dead 2. It wouldn't come out until a year later. The trailer number 3 is when we actually can see the final release date, which was October 26th. But things got delayed multiple times. That's just what happens with Rockstar games. If they need more time, they get it. That's just how this works. So a lot of people have speculated that maybe they're going to delay GTA 6 one more time to that like October range late next year to get the holiday craze and excitement, to polish it up just a tad bit more and, you know, double up on that. I'm up for either one of these conclusions, but we're going to see in this video some of the rumors, some of the people that have been talking about this and reason why some people think it's being delayed. What I will say is I recently spoke to somebody who works in the industry on the publishing side and is like pretty high up in the publishing side, manages hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects at any given moment. And he said he does not think it's delaying at all. He said he used to work with some of the guys that are over there right now. And he's like, they're confident. They're confident. So he doesn't think it's happening and he knows what he's doing. So I'm going into this a little skeptical, but let's see what Cyberboy dug up.
So I woke up this morning to being tagged in many different posts and I thought the world was ending, but no, that's not the case yet anyway. But there's been some rumors and murmuring that GTA 6 could get delayed to the end of next year, or possibly would get delayed to the end of next year. Now, there's a few things that I want to cover in today's video, and I want to make it very clear that I don't want to make this video like a fear-mongering video. It shouldn't be like that. I want to give you the information that I have that's at least as accurate as I think it could be, because the truth is no one really knows if it's going to be delayed, but I think it's important that we at least explore the what ifs, whys, and possibilities, because I'm a GTA 6 channel and it's only right that I cover it. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So
yeah, and I think it's also important to remember that even on the dev side, like there was reports that when AC Shadows got delayed to Valentine's Day, that the people at the studio working on it didn't know until the public announcement was made. Like they were in the studio working on the game thinking they had like a matter of weeks to finish it. And then they checked Twitter and they saw, oh, has our game been delayed? And then they check their email and they're like, oh God, no, yeah, I guess it has. Okay, interesting. But they found out at the same time as everybody else. So usually the only people that are making these decisions are the people really high up, and they're the people that are very high in the chain of command, and they don't tend to let it leak or slip earlier than that if they don't need to.
Where did all of these rumors start and where are we getting this information from? Well, personally, I don't think this is really tangible enough to report on, but it has sent Twitter into a frenzy, so clearly enough people are listening to it. This came from Tom Henderson, who is the editor-in-chief of Insider Gaming. Now, Insider Gaming is a massive gaming publication, and they publish things about games all of the time, and of course, they do actually have some inside sources, and they have been correct on numerous predictions in the past about other games, and of course, Tom Henderson in the gaming space is widely regarded as a decent, if not great, source of information when it comes to many games, including games like Grand Theft Auto. Now, he recently did the Insider Gaming podcast. Now, I'm going to play you 2 clips of what he had to say, but we'll start off with the first one.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think that it is going to release in May. For some reason, I just cannot see GTA 6 releasing in May. You know, all the rumblings and so on just doesn't seem to suggest it. Not good enough to corroborate it, reports on it. So
now, in this first clip, he said once again, he's been hearing like murmurings and rumors, and he hasn't stated where they've come from. We can probably assume that that's come from Rockstar.
I mean, I will say that he does have a lot of connections. He does know what he's doing. Some of his reporting is more in-depth than others. Like, for example, I think he's got a very, very high-level contact within Ubisoft who's like kind of disgruntled. different word. Because he's gotten, for example, previous reporting on like high level discussions at Ubisoft that I would think you'd only get if you were like in the corporate office in Paris. So like there's some instances where he really does have really high level sources. In other instances, I think he's operating like with a lot of other people with smaller whispers and rumblings from other people. Oh, I talked to this guy who talked to this guy and he told me at a bar that this was going on because he has a friend that works there. And so it's hard to like really make anything actionable off of it. And at this point, I think that if they're going to delay GTA 6 again, you got to remember, this is one of the biggest entertainment products in human history. And it is expected to generate like $4, $5, $6 billion in revenue over its first 4 quarters. So it is expected to make so much money that it will basically single-handedly control the movements of Take-Two Interactive stock. It also has a heavy implication for console companies like Sony and for Microsoft with, of course, the Xboxes and even some PC hardware, because they're expecting when GTA 6 launches that you're going to see a huge influx of people buying consoles for the first time, therefore also buying secondary games. So you buy into the PS5 generation for the first time, you're probably also going to buy a copy of Call of Duty, or maybe you're also going to buy a copy of, that game Ghost of Yotei that came out 6 months ago. And so you're going to see a lot of increased spending out of nowhere. So if they're going to delay GTA 6, it is a piece of information that if you had it, you can make a lot of money on. Because, like, for example, if I saw, and I don't trade video game stocks for this reason because it's a conflict of interest, but let's say I'm just a dude, okay? I'm not a YouTuber with sources and connections. If I found out somehow, I had a dream, a vision, and I found out that GTA 6 was about to be delayed out of the fiscal year, which is what going to the fall would be, I would then short the ever-living crap out of Take-Two Interactive the week that GTA 6 is set to release, because when it's delayed, you're going to see the stock dip and then it's going to pick back up and it'll recover. It'll be fine, but you could make a lot of money off of it if you know what's happening. So they're going to be super, super tight-lipped. And I think that you're also going to see like developers will not know if it's being delayed. It is a decision being made by very, very high up people, I think. So even if developers are like, I think we might get a delay, I would not trust them, because I think that they probably would not know either. It's something that only like the game's directors, upper level producers would actually know. And, I think they'd keep everybody else in the dark.
We really don't know, and I think going anything beyond speculation at this point would be very stupid. The truth is that every single game that Rockstar work on, and pretty much most employees at Rockstar, feel like games won't be ready in time. This was the case even up to the release of Red Dead Redemption 2, 3 weeks before launch. I know people that worked at Rockstar during that period that didn't feel the game was ready to come out, and they thought the game was going to get pushed back again, and it didn't. Now, if the person he spoke to at Rockstar is, senior management or manages a certain department or team, maybe there's a lot more weight to it than someone that maybe started a couple of weeks ago. But once again, we really don't know. And at this point, it's far too early to say whether Rockstar would need to delay the game yet. They won't even know themselves. We usually hear about delays around 5 to 6 months before the given release date, and that's when Rockstar has to make an executive decision about whether they need to delay the game further. Now, there is a second clip, which I'll play for you right now.
For me personally, I think we're looking at October.
That's what I was thinking.
And then it allows them to obviously get the holiday sales.
Now, once again, there's nothing about this that I generally disagree with. Of course, the holiday period is fantastic for Rockstar, and they're not missing out on the holiday period by releasing in May. Pre-orders could be opening in December of this year, and they would make a metric ton of money from that. And then, of course, they would have the holiday season next year as well. The thing is, and I know I big up Rockstar and I'm a Rockstar-based channel and all of this, but I think it's fair to say that the holiday season for Rockstar probably wouldn't make a significant difference to GTA 6's sales. Not enough to really report on or to really change whether investors dump money into the business. I think the holiday season argument maybe is a little bit less relevant for Rockstar than it is for other developers. And I don't think that's a controversial take.
I think will GTA 6 perform tangibly better if it releases in October, November versus May? That's a fair question. Honestly, like I think GTA 6 performs well regardless, but I could see that having an impact on the overall adoption into the next generation. So for example, people who are not on PS5 or Xbox Series consoles, they are still playing on PS4s and Xbox 360s and Xbox Ones and PS3s and an old PC or something. And they know that they want to get into the next gen of console gaming with GTA 6. But during the holiday period, I could find that being an easier expense to justify. Spending a crap ton of money on consoles right before the summer starts might be a little harder to justify for some people, but if it's like the holiday expense, you can buy it for your spouse or for your kids as their Christmas present, and I could see that happening. But then you could also just say that that's going to happen regardless. If you launch in May, people will still buy it for Christmas 6 months later. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, they'll just buy it 6 months later. So I don't think it makes that like big of a difference, but you better believe that they have done a lot of research into that and like dug into it a lot. So they're not going to leave much to the imagination. I think they're going to make a decision based on stats and data that we do not have access to, you know. Real quick, Good Speed O or 0H. Thank you for the 2. Hi, Luke. Hi. Good to see you. Also, thank you for the 5 from Justin Fountain. Hey, Luke, did you hear about the Ghost of Yotei boycott going today? I did hear people talking about it. My understanding is because that one dev said something like really gross about what happened on the 10th. My understanding is that dev has been fired, though. So I guess maybe some people are boycotting because they were fired and they're upset they were fired for saying that. Other people are upset that the person said it, but if you're upset about that, the person was fired. So I think it's just like two sides of the argument. But I don't even know if it's confirmed the person was fired. Like, I think it's still speculation. Hi. What do you have? Do I want a cheeseburger? You're in the perfect silhouette. That's kind of scary. That's funny. Do you want a cheeseburger? Sure, I guess. Yeah, thank you. Are you sure? Do you want it? Okay, you eat it. No. I'll eat a factor. It's fine. No, eat your cheeseburger. Why did you offer it to me if you wanted it? Just eat it.
Because I got it for you.
Okay, you eat it.
No, I got it for you. No, don't. My finger move pouch. I got you a cheeseburger.
Thank you. You should eat it.
I ate one already.
I got one for you.
I already ate one.
I got one for you.
I want you to get me a coffee later. So this is...
Oh, right. I got to go pick up charcuterie.
Right.
Here in just a little bit. Our charcuterie.
Our charcuterie.
Her sister unironically called charcuterie board charcuterie. She's like, I love charcuterie. We're like,
it's my favorite thing. I love a good charcuterie
It was
board.
the most
It's
Midwestern
so
thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, I love charcuterie and a good mustard and cat soup. You know, it's like it's just charcuterie. That's fine.
That's the fancy pronunciation.
Yeah, I guess. Well, thank you.
Orion if I could have one of his chicken nuggets, and he goes, "No, eat your own chicken nugget." And I said, "I don't have one." He goes, "Eat a grape."
Eat a grape? Here, take your burger.
No.
Take your burger. No. Thank you. She hands it to me. She's like, "Do you want a hamburger?" And I was like, "Sure." And I take it, and she holds onto it tighter. It's like, if you wanted it, just eat it. It's like, I'll be okay. You know? Oh, well, thank you. Pog wife. Pog's in the chat. Pog wife. I forgot what I was saying, but Yotei stuff. Yeah, it's that's my understanding of what's happening with it, is that some people are upset the person was allegedly fired. Because again, as of right now, we don't know for sure if they were fired. It's just based on cryptic tweets from, or not tweets, blue sky posts from that person, it sounds like they were fired. Yeah, and then other people are upset that they said that and that they might not have been fired yet. So I don't know. As of right now, it really sounds to me like the person was fired for saying that based on the posts I saw them post, like following up to it, but and like doubling down on it. But I don't know. She wants you to log off. Yeah, I will wrap this up and I'll go hang out with the wife and the missus. Okay. 16 times the membership for 16 months. Thank you, Jimothy. Holla. Thank you, my friend. Okay, let's see this.
Game will sell regardless of when it's released.
Okay, back into it for Jacob's sake to edit this together. Yeah, all of this to say, I don't think releasing in the holiday versus May has that massive on like impact on the game in the grand scheme of things over the course of like the first 4 quarters of it, because again, you got to balance it out. Yes, you can delay it till October and get maybe added Q1 of its life cycle sales through the holiday season, but in order to do that, you are delaying it out of the fiscal year. So then the finances for the previous fiscal year are worse, and that has all sorts of things like tax implications. It has implications on your net operating loss carry forwards and how you're balancing those. It's not as simple as just push it back a few months to get some more copies. It has major effects elsewhere, you know.
I'm going to be waiting to Christmas to get it, and maybe that affects some children's sales of the game. But once again, you know, the UK's
not in the UK, man. He's about to go into the UK. But yeah, the UK, they're doing all sorts of crazy like age verification stuff. Man, you guys gave us crap for the whole tea thing. Like, oh, you don't want to pay taxes on tea. Now, I bet you're wishing you just let us have our tea. Because you guys can't do nothing. Can't do nothing without like signing in, doing facial scan verification to log into Discord. It's ridiculous. What happened, man? What happened? It's fine VPNs exist. Dude, that's the thing. They're trying to ban VPNs now too. Yeah. We had somebody in chat from the UK who's like, yeah, no, they're starting to like work on legislation to ban VPNs as well. It's like they're just speed running how to get every young person in the country to hate you. It really is amazing.
One of the bigger markets for Rockstar games, and with age verification, most people that are going to be buying the game are going to be buying it with their own money, not a parent's purchase. So of course, some more contextual information is given before we need to really think if there's a delay or not. Now, I just want to play devil's advocate and assume that there is a delay. I think we should have a conversation about the scenario in which the game would be delayed. Now, looking at the general feedback that I'm seeing on Twitter, well, mainly because it's on Twitter, but a lot of people are very angry that if Rockstar delay the game, they're not going to buy the game anymore. Anyone that's going to lie to themselves and pretend...
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly BS. I mean, anybody who's like, if they delay it, I'm done. I'm not buying it. Get over yourself. You're buying it. Like, shut up. Especially if they've gone to the trouble of writing that on a GTA focused page and they're like watching. It's like, do you really think the CEO of Take-Two Interactive, Strauss Zelnick, is going to be like, they're telling us they need more time. It's not polished. We need to take more time to fix it up. But MILF Banger 69 just said that he's not going to buy it if we do it. If we delay it. MILF Banger 4-star hands. We've got to put it out. Do you really think that's what's going to happen? No, nobody cares.
Pretend that they're going to avoid having years of fun because Rockstar decided to delay the game. You're not just lying for yourself, you're rage baiting. The game will sell, you'll play it, and we will all buy it and probably really, really enjoy it. But if they do delay the game and there are some causes behind that, what could those causes be? Well, it's not going to be Rockstar trying to spite their fans. It's not because Rockstar hate their fans. If Rockstar delay the game, it either really comes down to 2 major key things. 1, the game isn't ready and Rockstar want to give us the best experience possible, because the best experience possible will help not just sell the game, but make online and all the other components of Grand Theft Auto games more successful long-term financially. Next is a business decision. If Take-Two Interactive decide that the release is too close to another release that they have coming out and it conflicts too hard where the other franchise would lose too much money by releasing maybe in the same week or two as Rockstar games, then there may be instances there where the game may get pushed back. But in reality, that's probably less likely out of the two. And I think a good friend of the channel, Project Vice, put it best in his recent tweet. Rockstar's original statement when they announced the first delay was this: the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations. And Project Vice followed this up with a very good point. If they delay it again, it won't be because releasing it in the holiday period will be to maximize sales, but to give us, the fans, the best GTA 6 experience possible. And for all...
Well, and the fact that they targeted May 26th to begin with was because they were satisfied with the potential projections and sales that gave them. So when they went to investors and they went to the shareholders meetings, they were able to defend that point. And one interesting thing is that, like, the investors are not too concerned about the May window. So I don't think that there's going to be this like massive delay just because they're like, we forgot about Christmas. Spaced it. Totally forgot. Nobody told me Black Friday was happening again this year. Like, that didn't happen. Instead, it would be because it needs more time to polish. And if that's the case, you should thank them for the delay instead of forcing it out, you know?
The hating and bashing of Rockstar about how they're a money-making machine and they sold out, whatever that even means. But all of these different claims about Rockstar in a negative light, the truth is Rockstar do genuinely care about their fans. In all of their games over the years, they have tried to make a game that sells, obviously for a financial benefit, but to give us a good experience. If we enjoy playing the game and have a good experience, they sell more games. It's in Rockstar's best interest to act in our best interest. Now, obviously, that's deviated a little bit of Grand Theft Auto Online. I think that it's slightly grindy in some aspects when it comes to the monetization side of the platform. But at the same time, that is something that they're going to try and revise and rework on for GTA 6. And that's something that we've seen very clear signs of with the way that they're looking at introducing like server meshing and stuff like that. They're good.
Or it'll be way worse. Way more monetized. They're going to be like, ooh, Star Citizen, let's try that. I don't know. I think I think like all of this at the end of the day, if it really does just come down to debates over Tom Henderson and insinuations on delays, like Tom feels inclined to believe that sorry, some of these are funny. Tom seems to be of the mind that releasing in May doesn't make sense because they miss out on holiday sales. But I'm like, they already would have considered that with the original announcement of the delay. So the insinuation would be that they announced the May release date with the intention of delaying it again to the winter, which just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. Some of these are funny. I hope it releases in May. Those people going on a podcast and social saying it will delay is because they don't have anything else to feed content from to make view, time, money, and such. The one pure fact is that nobody knows until it actually happens. But based on Rockstar Games' track record, including for Red Dead Redemption 2, is that they never, to this point, delayed with a specific date. They only actually delayed when it was a release window, i.e. fall 25 is an example of a release window. So until it happens, there is no founded evidence to support. Otherwise, as it would just be the first time delayed without a specific date. Yes. So, and this goes back to what we were initially saying. In the past, how Rockstar has handled it is when they give a release window, I can do this as here. Release window, fall 2017, trailer number 1. Trailer number 2, spring 2018, delayed. Effectively the same period of time, right? They go from the fall of 1 year to the spring of the next, which is the same as GTA going from the end of 25 to early 26. Now, they again delayed it, but they gave it a specific date. And so in the past, when they have chosen a specific date, they stick to that date and they hit that date. So when they choose a day, they're locked in. That's at least what it has been in the past. And in the case of GTA 6, I think that that's also compelling, that they felt confident enough to give it an actual day and to land there. I think that that's reasonable to conclude that they are confident there. Also, you thirsty boys. Look, this is the most replayed section. You guys are unbelievable. You dirty, dirty guys. Look at that. I do think that this will be incredible, though. I'm very excited. This also, yeah, that also was replayed a lot. Dude, the gooning is out of control. Out of control. What's another spot? What do you think this is going to be? Okay, okay. Explosions, that's fair. Some people beating each other up. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it was like trailer 1 was also like this. Trailer number 1, the most replayed spot. Where was it? Yeah, it's like literally right here. It's like, can I say I'm surprised? Not really. Not really. But I do think that this will be, it's going to be massive. I don't buy into necessarily the argument, though, that it's going to be delayed purely because of the holiday sales. Because it's not like they didn't know about the holidays when they put it in May. Like, if they delay it, it's because it needs more time. But historically, when they give a specific date, they land on that date. And they don't have to delay it again. But there's a first time for everything. And at the end of the day, we ultimately don't know. You know? We just don't know. I think it could make sense. I can see some hints and insinuations one way or the other, but ultimately it just is up in the air, and time will tell. Time will tell. But it's fun to talk about because it's once we get some stuff actually coming, we had a gameplay trailer. There's going to be a bajillion videos about it. There's going to be just so much stuff. There's entire YouTube channels that still exist to this day that primarily blew up because of Red Dead Redemption 2. It's going to happen again with GTA 6. It's one of those big moments in gaming that happens once every like 7 to 8 years. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. It's going to be fun. How's the burger? It's pretty good. Pretty good. I will say it was funny because I went to Europe for the first time 2 weekends back to back. So it was kind of a crash course in traveling to Europe. But I went to Denmark. And do we have anybody from Denmark in here? Denmark in here in chat right now? I have a question. Do we have anybody from Denmark? Yes? Pude? Okay. Okay. I was shocked. I can't talk today. Maybe the burger was poisoned. I was shocked, genuinely shocked, that like 50-60% of the restaurants in Copenhagen were burger places. What's that about? What's that about? I was genuinely surprised. I did get like, I went to an actual Danish restaurant and I got like a traditional Danish breakfast. And so like it had the, you know, the salmon and the sausages and stuff. Like I did that whole thing. It was good. I don't know what I was expecting from like Danish food, but I was surprised when I was looking for like restaurants that first night and it was like all burger places all around me. It was weird. It was weird. Like granted, I happened to be staying in a kind of touristy spot by the palace. So I think it probably was like, we got to get some food that tourists will eat. But it was funny to me that so many burger places were there. Because when I went to Prague, for example, Prague did not have that. Prague was like, what surprised me about Prague was how many Starbucks locations there were. There were a lot of Starbucks locations, like a hilarious number, all over the place. Literally, we went and toured the palace grounds and like, we went around the back corner and we're just like exploring the nooks and crannies of it and came across, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, went around a corner and where is it? Yeah, literally on the back side of the palace. There's just a huge, I'm holding up to the camera like a boomer. There's a Starbucks. That's like a grand cathedral in the background. And they cut out a part of the palace grounds to put a Starbucks into it. It was weird. I ran out of the corner. I was like, what? What are we doing? There's a Starbucks? It was just surprised. I was like, I just would have thought that they would have like some sort of fancy, Czech coffee shop where it's it's boiled water and tree sap or something, like, because when Americans think of Europeans, we think of all of you guys being like crunchy munchy, all organic, except for the Brits. I will say some of the food stuff I've seen from the Brits. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? British. It's like British mash, pie and mash. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Yeah, it's like mash and eels. Like, what are you guys doing? Do you guys need help? Look at this. Like,
They opened their doors in 19 about pie and mash. Manzi opened their doors in 1902, which goes back further than the First World War. The handcrafted traditional English pies are served with mash that's scraped onto the plate and that bright green liquor. I doubled up and this whole portion cost £9.30. The pastry's light and crispy, and they're filled with what I think is like a beef mince. The pies tasted really good, and the mash was super buttery. However, the eels were not for me, unfortunately. They were disgusting. They still have the bone in. If you can't take a date to mate, enjoy.
guys, the war is over. It's been over for a while. Why are you still eating like we're in the thick of it? You know,
Thank you very.
It's just dreadful. Big John has pie and mash. Let's see Big John.
3 pie, 2 mash.
That's a Big John.
That is bliss.
Poor guy's out of breath from doing a single spin.
3 pie, 2 mash. That is bliss. Can we order 2 pie, 1 mash and stewed eels, 2 pie, 1 mash, and can I have 1 pie mash with gravy? Really? Exactly, see, really. Because we had a lot of people going, especially from up north, that needs to be with gravy, so we're going to get one. Look at this, look, is that with a gravy? Pie mash and gravy, sacrilege. 2 pie, 1 mash with liquor, perfect. Now we've got 2 pie, 1 mash with stewed eels. This is true, hearty food. Proper London traditional food.
One of my favorite things to do when traveling is to try local food. Like, see how they eat when in Rome, you know? And that's worked out pretty well. Montreal, amazing food. The poutine in Montreal, dude, it's on another level. It's so good. It's amazing. The food in Prague, just in general, was so good. We went to like a steakhouse and we tried a traditional like mousse dessert and everything. Really, really good. When we were at the KCD Fan Fest, had a smoked pretzel. I never even considered smoking a pretzel. That's great. But when it comes to the mash and eels, I'm okay. The Brits do have some other really, really good food. But apparently when my wife traveled to London, she was saying how the top restaurants in London are all like Indian and they're Indian restaurants and what's the other? French restaurants, which I just thought was funny. Like, top restaurants are of a different cuisine from another country, but it makes sense. The French, dude, the thing about the French, you guys are crazy. I think because like for so long you had like the aristocracy and the royalty and everything. So there were just a bunch of people who were sitting around all day and they're like, I don't know, come up with some crazy dessert. Make a souffle, make me a muffin, but make it 4 times taller and way more delicious. And so they just went and they worked on it for like 5 years while other countries are like developing iPhones. They're working on that. And it worked out great. French food, delicious. Indian food, I go hard for some Indian food. Whew, my body doesn't like it, but I go hard for some Indian food. Oh, put sugar on cream and then blowtorch it. Dude, most most like food recipes, I always pause and wonder, like, how did they come up with that? You know, because some of it is like bizarre and like very, very creative, like so creative you really start to wonder. Krieg Zeus, thank you for the 2. Don't know why Brits are so proud of their wartime food. I'm sure like not everybody in England eats mash and eels. I'm sure. Just like here in Colorado, the stereotypical thing is like Rocky Mountain oysters, which are just usually like pan-fried bull testicles. I'm not a fan, you know, but that's the stereotype of what Coloradoans eat, you know, but it's not accurate.
Typhlosion donated $3. Not to interrupt, but will you cover Star Citizen with Space Tomato since it's only 2-ish hours this year?
Ooh.
I was really excited for you last year, but I understood why you backed out.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. Yeah, I'm totally open to it. That could be super fun. The one thing with Star Citizen though is that I've done a number of videos on Star Citizen and they've all done pretty well. Like pretty well. The one from 3 months ago is at 1.1 million. The one from a year ago is at 1.4 million. 300. Like I've had some videos do pretty well discussing Star Citizen, and they are not generally positive. So I'm not sure how much the Star Citizen community wants me to be present about that whole thing. 'Cause I'm call me cynical. I'm braced for them to reveal even more nonsense. Like I'm braced for them to reveal, yeah, that thing you got upset about us charging for. Yeah, well, we're going to charge for it again. Sorry, not sorry. That's my guess. A lot of, yeah, to be fair, Immortal Fish, a lot of them are open to critiquing CIG and RSI just in general. Because honestly, they make it kind of easy. And I think it's more just a very vocal minority that are the sycophants that will defend everything and anything. But if they'll have me, I'd love to join them for that. That'd be super fun. Super fun. Because I think Star Citizen is at such a fascinating crossroads right now. Like they are at a point where it's really make or break. Like it really is piss or get off the pot. You got to make more money and you've got to find a way to appeal to the mass market in a way that they haven't so far. And they're going to try to do that with Squadron 42, but it's going to be tough. So it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. What are you guys eating tonight? I'm going to have some mash and some liquor and some stewed eels. Put some vinegar on it. Delicious. Delicious. Bloody delicious. Oh, wow. Oh, man. Anyway. I can't stop thinking about the food. I did try that like parsley sauce once. I did try it once. Maybe it was poorly made because it didn't really taste like anything. It was just kind of like water with green stuff in it. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have to pick up my kid. We ordered some charcuterie cups. We're doing a little birthday celebration tomorrow night, and so I ordered, instead of a big platter of charcuterie, I ordered a bunch of charcuterie cups where they pre-make them into little bitty cups that are kind of single serve for everybody to be able to just grab one and take it. So I have to go pick those up. It's about 25 minutes away and the pickup time is at like 2:30, so I should probably wrap up and go do that. But yeah. Anyway, let's see. I think we covered everything I really wanted to get through. Oh yeah, Sony has actually confirmed it for those asking. Sony confirms Sucker Punch developer who posted a joke about the Charlie Kirk assassination is no longer at the studio. So Sony actually confirmed that they have been fired. Yeah. Yeah. What is this one from? Declined to comment further. Drew Harrison is no longer an employee of Sucker Punch Productions. So they didn't want to comment on it. They just said they're fired. That's it. And then because it's Kotaku, they have to go into like a whole deep dive into Gamergate and stuff. That's funny. That's classic Kotaku for you. Classic Kotaku. That's just Kotaku for you. But now they're confirming it at least. So there you go. Now at least people can decide what they want to do. Initially, people were going to try to boycott it because the person hadn't been fired. Now they're saying the person has been fired. And so now other people that were previously not going to boycott it are now saying they'll boycott it because the person was fired. But then the people who were going to boycott it because the person hadn't been fired now are saying they will not boycott it because the person has been fired. We tracking? keeping track? I think that's how it went. So yeah, makes sense. Okay, good. Well, with that said, everybody, much love. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm going to go and pick up my, as my sister-in-law says, charcuterie. So I'm going to go do that. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you back on Monday, rocking and rolling. We'll have lots of fun stuff to talk about. Go watch the new video on Borderlands 4, just went up, and watch the video from yesterday on the main channel where I talked about KCD FanFest, the expansion they just posted, which totally changes the game, and the future of KCD, which I think is quite bright. So go check those videos out if you haven't already. Much, much love. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.